it was the potato chip comment. I was fucking killing me with that mid push up. To be honest. Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm having a rough night, guys.
Oh, dude, me too.
You're fine.
I had a lot of not. Yeah, I play video games for a living. I can't complain too much. But you know. dude, I had a rough night, bro, in the dungeon.
I had a rough night. Okay, it's alright. It's fine. I got you. I'm gonna use the bathroom before we get started. No, we just stop the door countdown. Right now, Josh.
Right this very second, to be honest.
Looking good. Looking good.
Oh yeah. All right. Let's get that way. There it is. Look at that. I can't say anything anymore. Look, 2 days in the gym. All right,
Crazy.
2 fucking days. I don't know. I'm only half.
Drug test this man.
I got places to be and eggs to eat. True, dude. I'm on that 5x. I didn't
Josh,
see though. Yes, I did. Nah, I'm on rest day as well. Not for real. I'm 3/4 on gym days right now.
I've got too much fat to be taking rest days. Doesn't count. With somebody not here. In the corner.
Does he every time? Does he do it on purpose, or is it just always natural? Crazy.
I think you need a haircut too.
Yeah, I know.
I liked when you had the sides shaved.
Yeah, that's the worry.
Yeah, but you gotta shave them again. I gotta do my sides too. So I don't stick out too much.
Little fade going.
Yeah, I want to kind of grow similar to what you've got. Not quite as long, but just like at least a little something to cover my big ass forehead.
Yeah, this isn't planned. This is just laziness.
I don't know. We might have a competition here, Odin. I don't know if you've noticed this,
Dude,
but
I've got you. I've got you cleared by like 2 zip codes, brother. Right? They're putting a biological feature on my head in a second here.
I don't know. We could get some. We could get some votes on that.
All right, let's hear
That's
it in chat.
a lot
Text
of real estate right there.
forehead to 9998.
That's
Dude, he's
right.
trying to look at this kid. He's like, yeah, I'm just gonna just.
Yeah, dude, he's like, I drink water now, dude. I drink water now.
I'm
I'm healthy.
I'm just pouring the fucking drink right here in the yeah.
This is by far the best open
Oh,
we've
whoops!
had.
Was my bicep in the chat?
Ever.
Oh, whoops!
We're just trying to keep it nice and lighthearted, before we start talking about Dark and Darker, because it's gonna
Before
get.
He
all
knows what he's
doomer.
doing.
Yeah, it's all doomer, dude. I don't even know where to begin. I don't have a plan. I know there was some patch notes I didn't read. I should pull those up actually. So,
Yeah, there was a patch today. You guys might have heard about that patch.
Things have happened recently.
All right, you sons of guns.
There he is.
You
The
sons
chair
and our guns.
To be
is
fair,
about to become
that's some
flesh.
pretty.
All right.
To be fair, that's some pretty impressive growth on the stick figure there. He's like Frieza. He
This
just trains
thing
for
might-
one day and he gets like 10 times the gains of everybody else.
Let me just eat my little honey on the tea. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Hold the Line podcast.
Number
There's going to
21.
be a lot
Number
of drama today. It's
22.
going to be HTD. Hold the drama.
22. Fuck, I have to update my title.
Hold the drama.
Hold the drama. HTD.
it might not be drama, just concerned for the game health and stuff.
Mhm,
Maybe
some of us,
drama.
some of us. All right.
Maybe stuff I don't know about.
Where to begin?
Bring us in. Let's have Arcane drive us in, because what always ends up happening is we end up steamrolling the conversation, but
No,
Arcane's here to reel us
I
all in.
like the idea of Josh kicking off. He usually sits back
All right.
and waits for us to wax intellectual and then chimes in with his usual words of wisdom. I would like him to give the initial thoughts if he's willing.
All right, so it has been a year and a half of delving into the dungeons, and people are clamoring for content, right? Content. But we've come a really long way from one boss in one crypt with only trios. Fast forward to all these different maps, these new classes, and the fundamental game-changing feature of multiclassing, which has now arrived on the heels of Druid and Arena and Ice Abyss with Dragon. There was a lot happening this month, and we are here now. And for me, it's the best state that the game has ever been in. It's the most exciting. It's the most interesting. We got the RNG gamba of multiclassing and reward tokens. The economy is like finally balanced enough where everything is selling. People want every stat in the game. I'm for this. I'm ding ding ding, Mr. Optimism. Let's send it over to Ken Nabi, who I think is going to be the opposite corner.
No, dude, game is great, bro. Every day I log in, I'm playing. I'm just having a good time. I just love getting run down by 75% PDR, MDR, buff balls, and trios in blue gear.
Is it more or less fun when they're cheaters?
And then and when I'm not playing against them, I'm playing against nobody. So that's also if I love just like empty lobbies. I just love them. It's just a great time. Gear-based matchmaking has been swell.
That seems
I
on
wish
brand.
lower your gear score.
I wish. Sorry, one more thing. I wish I could get an accurate opinion on multiclassing, but I can't because I'm not playing against anybody most of the time. So, you know,
Okay.
that's where I'll start with that.
I was just gonna say it seems really on brand because you are the PvE master in this comp. Definitely not known for anything else. You're the guy that normally tries to rat out and log on at weird times of the day just so you can PvE only. So I'm glad that you were using zero sarcasm in that entire soliloquy there.
I mean, listen, like, you know, taking the most powerful items in the game into the dungeon to deal with the most powerful monsters. It's really dangerous. We've seen it happen to, you know, the best players in the game when, you know, they die to PvE in an empty lobby.
Not an unsarcastic note. I do
happens.
die to PvE most of the time. Mobs do kill me a lot.
That we
Mobs
were
kill me
getting
more
to
than
it.
players.
I don't know if you were picking up the sarcasm there. We were both making a joke about you guys dying with artifacts yesterday to PvE.
Yeah.
Well, technically,
I've never even held an artifact aside from the soul scraper that I sold 2 minutes later. So, you know, I can't say much.
Right, technically it was PvP because there was a rogue there, right? At the least.
Was it? I didn't even watch the clip. I'm just talking shit.
Yeah. I got sandwiched between two Thanoses, and then I couldnn't move.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
then I hit by a fireball.
literally anyone.
But even if he wasn't there, I would have been dead. So it's fine.
That'll kill literally anyone. To
Sounds
be
great.
fair.
All right,
Yeah,
Arcane.
go ahead, Arcane.
I
actually
don't
wanna go
even know
last
where
one.
to start, fellas. There is more division in the community. I know we've seen times where Rogue was the hot topic of conversation more than, I mean, that's an understatement, big time. Rogue was a hot topic of conversation for a long time. We've had a lot of balanced discussions. We've had a lot of complaints. We've had a lot of suggestions and drama. I don't know that I've ever seen the community so divided. Almost, maybe 50-50 is an exaggeration. I feel like it's weighted more 60-40 in the negative now. But multiclassing has really split this community a lot. And between the Reddit, Discord, YouTube videos, and other podcasts, The Darkest Hour, like, I don't even feel like everybody's completely unified on there. So I know we're going to talk about this a lot tonight. Ken has some opinions, but he just mentioned in not 100% sarcastic terms that he hasn't even had a good chance to evaluate it because of gear-based matchmaking. Josh loves it. I think Odin's going to be somewhere in the middle. I love it, but I still think it needs work. But there are so many people that absolutely hate it and think it's the death of the game. Like the controversy is insane right now. So I want to hear where Odin stands right now, honestly, because he might want to make a disclaimer announcement before that opinion.
I'm going to make a
is
disclaimer
rendered.
announcement only because I think if I make the announcement after I share my opinion, it's going to be cheapened a little bit. But I will say that I am officially announcing today that I got a job at ironmace. I can't talk.
Go.
Thanks, Jess. I can't talk about everything I'm going to be doing there because some of it's very top secret, very confidential. But I will be assisting Soma with some of his work. So So expect to see more of my stupid face in places that you didn't expect to see it before. So people already speculated about it because Josh decided that he was going to talk about it on a stream like 2 days ago. But
I'm not good with secrets. All
It's
right,
fine,
it's
it's fine.
just like I get excited about
There's
things,
a
and
reason
then
I
I wake
didn't
up the
tell
next
you.
day, and
There's-
I mean, you told me. I
There's
knew.
a reason I didn't tell you about the other thing, but you've done a good
Yeah,
job
yeah,
of keeping the other thing secret.
I
And I'm going to
try-
hope you continue to do so.
I try my best, but I get excited. I'm streaming 12 hours. A lot of things come out of my little mouth, my
Let's get
little
a couple
rat
of cups
brain.
of wine in so bad, and let's get the
Oh,
secrets
yeah.
flowing, dude. You know.
Mm. So I just want to say that each of the 2 Dark and Darker podcasts have one member joining the Iron Mace team in the marketing department and to help bring forward like the public face of the game and to make positive changes. Now we have 2 different places where feedback can be submitted and like churned. And when we do the Q&As, you guys please be asking Odin questions and going to the other podcasts and asking Soma questions as well, or suggestions, whatever you have. But
yeah,
yeah,
definitely make sure
congrats,
you guys
brother.
ask us questions. I appreciate that. Because everything that we hear from the community is things that we do. I mean, you guys see me on the Reddit all the time. If you know what my username is, you've probably seen me there a million times. So we're there reading comments and trying our best to be civil with people who are trying their best to not be civil.
Yep.
But that aside, to talk about the multiclassing thing, and you're 100% right on that, Arcane. I have like somewhat of a middle ground take, which is that I like it conceptually, and I see the potential for it to be very good with tweaks, but I also see the potential for it to like have its own place in a completely different game mode, where if they like built a roguelike dungeon crawler, Dark and Darker, where you just build a multi-class from cards that you get in a standard roguelike setup, that would be so much fun. In its current state in the game, I like it. I'm excited by it, but at the same time, I understand people who are frustrated, and not for nothing, but having something that splits a community in 2 is maybe not the best thing. If we take an already small community, which Dark and Darker is a relatively big community in the grand scheme of things, it's not League of Legends, it's not Counter-Strike, it's not Dota, it's not any of those things, but it's big for an online multiplayer game. I've come from a lot of really small games that still have a player base that sustains it, and to be here with 15,000 concurrent players on a Thursday night is a very good thing. But to split
I
those
haven't seen
players
any
in
of them.
half,
I haven't seen them. That's all I'm saying.
we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute. To split the players in half is, it's divisive. It's maybe not the best thing. So let's talk about it. Talk about the impacts of GBMM for us first, Ken, because you have the best takeaway from the bad side.
Before that awful rant, I do want to talk a little more about multiclassing, and like I don't want to like just come off as a hater. I actually think gear-based matchmaking could be good. Like I see the vision. I think what I love like making cool, creative, interesting, unique builds. That's why I love games like PoE or Diablo or TCGs or anything, strategy games where like you get rewarded for thinking and being creative, and like that's what multiclassing could be. But just the current iteration that is in right now sucks ass, to lack of a better word. I think the grind is way too high, especially for the casual player. Like I'm a sweat lord, and like I have like 2 or 3, multi-class tokens on most of my characters because I spread out my time on characters all the time. So it just like sucks. The grind is really bad. And the other issue with multi-class, I think the main issue is that it removes class identity, which is okay in the sense, but I think people should be rewarded for being a pure cleric or a pure wizard or a pure fighter. I think if you do not multi-class and you like level up your prestige level on your wizard, maybe you get a 3rd skill slot, a 5th perk slot, etc. And then if you want to delve into multi-classing, then you give up that class specific advantage for more flexibility in your build. I think that would be fine. I think that would make more builds, but people could still kind of keep their class identity. The end bosses of the world could still be the cleric pure and like be a damn good cleric, and the wizard players could be like still be a wizard pure, and the fighter guys could still like try to be a fighter pure or whatever. I think that's a good direction to go. But I have more to say about it, but I'll just kind of like pass it on for now. What about you, Sobi?
I agree with that for sure. When we talked to STF and the dev Q&A, one of the things I brought up was whether or not at some point, if we did not multi-class, we should be rewarded. And so it would be easy to implement as well. You just give like, if I choose not to multi-class, and then I can maybe re-roll my own class. And like, let's say I got PFE. now I add PFE to my already existing PFE, and I get 55% debuff duration instead of 50%. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever it is. So you just get like micro advancements, and then that would be nice. Or you could also go a different route. Obviously, this is experiment stage 1, but there are a lot of ways to deal with this. Like I think in the game is largely based on Dungeons and Dragons, and there you can't just like multi-class once from like every single person and be strong. You have to sort of go down one tree. So I can't be like warlock, wizard, cleric, barbarian like right off the get-go and be like the strongest I've ever been. So with that, like I mean, there's ways that they can go about it. You know, you only can multi-class into one other class, and then you get like you could do tiers. And I mean,
I
we
hate the
know
RNG. I hate it.
yeah, and like there also obviously there's an absolute ton of RNG with the system. Plus, it's still, I think, probably is too slow to level for most people to actually get to experience a solid amount of multi-classing. I mean, I've been playing my Warlock all wipe, and I'm like level 110. That's only like 8 tokens. Like the odds are pretty good that I'm gonna miss or not get like my perfect build, but like I don't know. They said they wanted the strong builds to be like pretty few and far between. So I just think there's a lot of improvement. Like always, this is the first experimentation of it, and it's really, really interesting. I think people are dooming way too soon. This is like literally day 1 of multi-classing. And Iron Mace is going to be aware, and they just fix the outliers and they get it more in line with more balance. Same thing with GBMM. Obviously, right now it's kind of shit. I never see anybody. I don't think I've had a full lobby like at all in the past week. And so I like the empty lobbies, or like I did, but I mean, just go to test server if you want empty lobbies. And for GBMM, I thought we should move to like a 0 to 400 bracket and then 400 plus. And they like
I thought
kind
that
of did
too.
that. So like that's close enough, I guess.
It's 299 and below and 300
Yeah,
plus. And I agree with you. I thought they were just going to do 399 and 400.
yeah, like 399 and below, but like then you still have the twinks power stomping like the lower bracket, and then the artifacts would power stomp the high bracket. But like I don't know what the fix to that is. I really have no idea.
So, real quick before an arcane, I want to hear your take on it too. But since we're on that topic, a segue to it is that um, the biggest problem that we see, and we talked about this in the group chat, is that the risk reward. There are multiple factors that go into this. Splitting the lobbies makes it difficult. But I think one of the biggest problems that prevents people from actually playing in those higher lobbies where Ken is getting dead lobbies and not seeing anybody is that there is no reason to go there. The player data shows that people don't like having massive gear disparities. And when you split the gear based matchmaking into this piece where you can go 400 to 1,000, obviously it doesn't go that far, but it can feel like it at times. If you have a couple good pieces and then a couple whatever pieces, you feel confident going into that 400 plus roll lobby, and then you run into Ken, Repose, and Jay, and they are in, tier 800 gear, and they just fucking shit down your throat, and you have no chance of ever of beating them. Not only are they better players, but they're just better geared in every way. Why would you even bother taking that gear? Why wouldn't you just sell it and go play in the lower tier lobbies where you can just continue to recycle gear if you lose and get the same reward? So Katie mentioned something that I brought up a while back, which was like creating a nightmare tier lobby, but instead of making it its own separate queue, just do it by gear. It sort of does the same thing, but if you're 400 plus, you have higher drop chances, better gear that can drop there. So there's a reason for players to go there. Because if you're, 299 and below, you're getting the same reward for killing Lich as players that are 300 plus. So why go to 300 plus? You have a risk of getting fucking destroyed by people in BIS sets who play the game 12 hours a day
and get destroyed by just extreme boredom. Like that's the real killer. That's the real.
It's a self-defeating prophecy, right? But this is something to think about, is that there's this problem where there's just no incentive to go to the higher tiers except to flex your good gear. But if you don't have crazy sets like the full-time players do, then you just don't feel incentivized to go there.
I think like one of the biggest problems with gear, sorry, Arcane, but one of the biggest problems with gear matchmaking is that it doesn't like accurately value the power level of gear.
That too. It's a fixed value for whatever color of gear you're wearing.
Yeah, like I'm not known for wearing turbo bits. Like I wear decent gear all the time. Like I'm always wearing like something kind of good. I'm not like the spend 20K on a piece, min max a fucking 6 set kind of guy. That's not who I am. But I will just have a surplus of this like mid, like one on or 2 on rolls, like epic pieces of gear, things that like aren't crazy that I can't like wear in the medium lobbies because they would put me in the quote unquote let's call them nightmare lobbies for the instance. Like, and the gear just isn't good enough for nightmare lobbies, but it's value too high for the mid lobbies. So like my bank is just full of stuff that I can't wear. I just have 4
And you
full staff
spent
tabs
you
of
spent the
gear.
last month and a half getting that stuff.
Yeah, it's just like if I put this on, A, I'm weaker than the BIS players, and B, I'm gonna be in the lobbies that are empty anyway, so that's also lame. So like the reality is, I'd have to spend 40 minutes on the auction house finding decently rolled blue pieces of gear, take out a calculator, making sure I don't bring in too many fucking consumes or campfires to put me over the edge. And then I have to make sure my teammates aren't fucking sinning either. Make sure you better not fucking have an orange on. You better not have an orange on and ruin my lobby. It's just jumping through so many hoops just so I can play against players.
It does disproportionately punish your bracket of players, which, to be fair, you guys are in the minority, but that doesn't mean that you did anything wrong.
Well, I don't.
And if anything, you guys, I'm going to be honest,
sorry.
and now that I'm an ironmace shill, I can say this from a business perspective. You guys are good for the game. I mean, there's as many people watching the game as there are playing it. So making the game suck for you guys is not really fair either. You know, you could argue it's the enjoyment of the many at the expense of the few, but there's no reason to design the game that way when the real problem is that there's too much available disparity. And I sent a thread in the group chat earlier where you got mentioned from a clip that was posted about how much friction has been introduced in the game, the level 20 cap on normals for all classes, even if they're legacy, the gear-based matchmaking. It just makes it harder to enjoy and play the game. And people are quick to jump to like, this guy is completely out of touch with reality. He plays on the fucking highest level of lobbies, and he's got the gold, and he spends 4 hours double jumping around ruins, farming gold, and
the thing is,
killing everybody.
I have more hours of normals than all those people. I don't care. I play so many fucking normals. I play all tiers of lobbies. Like, I fucking hate that shit.
That's what I was trying. I'm there to say the same thing, which is that if you're gonna be mad at somebody, don't be mad at Ken. He's on your side. He wants this gear disparity removed too, because it's not fun for anybody. It's not fun to play with a really good group of people who are also massively out gearing everyone and just fucking steamroll the lobby, because there's no excitement. It just gets boring really quick, and that's why there was that scrim lobby that everybody or scrim Discord that everybody got real mad about last season.
Dude,
they just wanted.
Can I gotta say one thing? It's super
we
funny.
Want to get hold on. We want to get to Arcane's opinion on multiclassing.
Dude, screw Arcane.
Before we forget about it, but go ahead. Let's finish it up.
I defer. I cede my time to Ken.
No, we want to hear about your opinion, but let's go ahead.
It's just really funny.
He needs to make this point. Yeah,
it's really funny when players try to make their own gear-based matchmaking by having the scrim lobbies, and everybody on Reddit is against it. But then ironmace makes gear-based matchmaking a part of the game. They're like, "Yes, finally, this is what we wanted. Let's kick them out of
BIS kids."
But when they do it on their own with a Discord, they're sinning. I thought it was a funny point.
All right, I knew you were going to say that.
It's a hive mind thing.
To be fair, I think part of the reason they were saying that is because the perception was when those scrim lobbies were happening that there was very little consequence to you guys. I know I'm saying you guys, the proverbial you guys would get to run the most high-end gear and get combat practice with the most high-end gear and have no consequences because, and I'm not saying this is true, but the perception was that when those fights were over, you guys would all just go back and give your gear back. Right. I think that was the main problem that people had with it, not the fact that you guys had your own orchestrated fights. Like, I don't think
were mad you guys got arena before everyone else.
Right. Yeah. I don't think people cared that much.
By the way, I've never been in one of those lobbies.
Well taken.
Yeah.
I'll be
sorry,
honest.
I didn't mean to lump you into that, by the way.
No, well, I mean, you have been, but not to your own knowledge.
Not intentionally.
It's because of who you played with.
Yeah.
And that's another problem at the top level, but we're not going to go into that because that's really, really like fine details. That's not worth discussing. But I will say I was also a person who had a reactionary take to that, where I was like, wow, these guys are fucked up for doing this. But the more I heard, and here's an important point for everybody who's listening to this podcast, whether you agree or disagree with any of the points that we're saying. Here's a very important point for you, and I'm looking at the camera so that I'm talking to you and you know it. I heard from other people who were playing in these lobbies and people who weren't playing in the lobbies, and I heard opposing opinions, and I changed my opinion because I understood, like, you know what? They're not really hurting anybody. They're trying to make the game better for themselves and avoid everyone else who's mad about the fact that they're in their lobbies. ironmace puts this in the game, and what does everybody do? We're so excited about this. But fuck everybody else who is up above that other tier. They don't get to have any fun. Doesn't matter if they provided us with years of entertainment worth of hours. Fuck them. Who cares? Streamers can die. We don't. They're bad for the game. They're not advertising to thousands of players a day. Who cares? Kill them. Fuck them. Send them to a camp. I don't. Yeah, it's.
And then the second you like take out the actual calculator, get some good blue kits, and go into the lower end lobbies, then you're a bully, and then you get flamed for that. And then it's like,
Shut up, chat.
bro, I'm just trying to log in and play the video game, and ironmace is just making me jump through hoops to do so. I wish I could have hit the play button and play, but you know.
And hopefully we'll solve that with. Hopefully we'll solve that with Arena. That's you know, something that's being worked on. And it's with the intention to. I won't say it should be a fix to the gear system and the lobby system, because everybody should still just be able to just play the game without having to pull out a fucking calculator. It's bizarre. It's not intuitive. It's not exciting for anyone. It creates these weird frictional issues where you have to be below a certain threshold, and there's a loss of excitement between both lobbies. But hopefully Arena will be a stopgap in some ways.
Just a counterpoint, like, just to keep going on this. I know we're gonna talk ad nauseam about this, but like, just say you're just an average player and you don't read the patch notes every day, and you don't even know that gear-based matchmaking is a thing, right? And so you just play a couple games and you pick up, you know, a purple Oracle robe with no good rolls, but you're like, oh, dude, sick! It's my first purple. Let's go. Put on that purple robe. You somehow extract and you can queue up again, and next thing you know, you're in the nightmare lobbies. You're just some average Joe who has no idea what's going on. But since you put on this robe that is purple, you are now a lamb in the slaughter. And you are now, or in a dead lobby, which is even worse. So it's
I think that the
punishes
0 to
progression.
299 has made it a little bit better for the average Joe, but it still doesn't. It's not intuitive, and it doesn't explain itself.
And also, it's just like the problem with gear, if you get stuck and you don't want to progress, you find a bracket that you're good at, and then if you get anything that's an upgrade, you can't put it on because you're going to get bumped up a tax bracket, and nobody wants to get taxed more. So you know, it's just
no one wants to be an Elon Musk stats bracket.
Yeah.
All right. We've rambled enough, and I'm laughing a little bit because I saw Josh walk away, and Arcane was like, hey, let's have Josh talk first because he's always sitting there quietly, and it's just because you and me are just fucking rambling at each other for an hour and a half, and they're just here for the ride. But let's hear from Arcane about his multi-class opinion before we get way too far away from the fucking subject, and we'll come back to this. There's plenty to talk about. How are you liking multi-classing, especially as a cleric and bard main? How do you feel about cleric in particular? And boss, I'm looking at you. How do you like it?
I've not touched bard, to be fully
wipe or in multi-class?
No, not once. My bard is still level 1. I've played 3 characters, and one of those was my warlock. He's level 2. My cleric and my wizard are the only characters that have seen action. We talked about this a little bit last time, in that this wipe, more so than any other one, because of multi-classing, I feel, and quests, the way that quests are laid out. Initially, the quests are great. These last 2 weeks have been a nightmare. They have been awfully designed, very poor, ultra grindy quests. We've talked about the reasons for this. I don't want to belabor that point. But for all of these reasons, I have felt compelled to almost exclusively play my main class. I got my wizard to 30 so that I could learn from him, and that was pretty much it. And I love the fact that they recognize they need to accelerate experience gains, right? With this last patch, and they applied it retroactively.
I think it needs to be faster.
It might not. I think it depends on how you pace learning tokens. And you don't even know what can of worms you opened here, Odin. I have a PowerPoint for this, and I'm gonna make you guys look at it.
Please share it to the screen so that it can go to my Discord and then be shared out to my stream.
It's coming.
So, for the record, I played.
It's going to be backwards. It's going to be backwards.
For the record, I forgot to watch your video, by the way. I'm sorry. I saw you link it, but I was in a meeting when you sent it, so I forgot to watch it earlier.
We're going to do the Cliff Notes version of that if I can figure out how to horizontally flip this. Give me 1 second.
While you're doing that,
flip horizontal.
I want to say I played with Sobad and Katie. Yeah, it's upside down and backwards.
What?
No,
was it good
backwards.
before?
It was good before, yeah.
It was good before, yeah.
Well,
it's mirrored when you present on Discord.
Oh, that's what it was. My bad. All right, flipping back. All right,
we're good. We're good.
I played with Katie and Sobad for, what did we play? Like 5 hours straight, where we only died once each, and we killed bosses a bunch, and we only got like 2 levels apiece. I feel like that's not sufficient.
PowerPoint. I'm excited for this.
That
All right, let's see.
that sucks, Odin. But let's come back to that. Let's work that into this conversation. So I don't want to go through this line by line because I ranted about this earlier today. But for as much discussion and controversy about multiclassing that we've seen in the community, I think it's worthwhile to try to pretend that we're in ironmace's shoes. We know they're trying it. It's experimental right now. They've really rammed that point home.
You're
And there are
really
a lot of
asking for a
people,
lot by asking the community to put themselves in Iron Mace's shoes right now. You're
Yeah,
asking for something
get
they're
it.
simply incapable of.
I get it. But if you were going to design multi-classing, what are the main considerations that you would want to have? So I tried to trim that down to 3, and then I ended up adding number 4. And most people are going to hate number 4 because they're going to say it shouldn't matter if they have to design a full new system. If it's worth doing, it's going to take time. And the reality is they're not a AAA game studio. It's not going to happen overnight. So if they can utilize existing game mechanics and systems wherever they can, great. So that's it for number 4. We don't need to belabor that point. But if there are 3 tenets to multiclassing, we've talked about all these things ad nauseum, but I wanted to put them very clearly in front of everyone's face and make sure that Iron Mace is, I hope they're thinking the same things. Because these are the 3 most popular topics that come up whenever we talk about multiclassing. Usually it's 2 and 3, but I think a lot of people fail to recognize number 1. So let's go through them. Number 1, you have to balance between the people that are grinding and the people that are casual. How do you do that? What is the right balance? It needs to be reasonable for people that are just logging on for 4 to 8 hours a week. And it also needs to reward players that are grinding. It's a hard balance to strike, but you need to make that attempt.
Do we
Number
think
2,
that the players...
we want to go one by one and maybe just like talk about them.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, that's a good call.
So on to that first point, do we think that the players who play the most need to be rewarded more than they already are? Because
No.
I don't think they do.
So I have a take on this as well. I think the grind is way too much. This is coming from a guy who does this for a living and plays 10 hours a day. I think the grind is ridiculous, and that's for me. So I know for the average player, it is awful. I think, and it's like infinitely scaling. So like the more time you put in, the stronger you are. And it's like they just made gear-based
right now, but yeah.
Yeah, well, they just put in gear-based matchmaking to kind of try to equalize things, but then they make this infinite grind system where you just can get power. It's like so much more powerful than somebody just based on your level and the amount of like tokens you have and the amount of
Can
crazy
the
builds
two
you
of
can make.
you, Josh and Nate, can you two do me a favor? I know this is asking you to do something in the middle of the stream here, but can you guys do a poll where you just ask your chat if they play more or less than 16 hours a week? If you guys should just make a chat, or if one of your mods could do it, make a poll where you ask if they play more or less than 16 hours a week, because I feel like that's good data to filter. Because if you're playing more than 16 hours a week, you're probably playing like 4 or 5 hours a day, sometimes a little more on the weekends. If you're playing less than 16 hours a week, it's probably a couple hours here and there during the week, and like maybe 4 or 5 hours on the weekend, one of the days. And let's take that let's take that and think about that. So last night, this is the perfect example. Me, So Bad, and Katie played for 5 hours, and we won we won every lobby technically because we never wiped, but we almost full cleared every lobby, killed bosses multiple times, and we only got a couple of levels. And that's a 5-hour period of having an abnormally high win rate for average players.
Can I just give like another suggestion for like this grind situation? I think instead of just getting a token per level, I think it should be like you have your main class level 50, and then you want to grind a subclass to 50. And once you do that, you multi-class those 2 together, and then you have access to all of the abilities from both classes. And then you could re-roll into another class that you level to 50. So it's like you grind.
Say the first part again. Sorry, I was reading a chat message and I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
So basically, you grind like your main class to whatever level. I'm using 50 as a number, but it could be whatever number you want. And then your subclass to 50 as well. And then once you have both those classes at the level 50 requirement, you could subclass them together. And then you have access to all of the spells from Class A and Class B. And you could just mix and match as much as you want to your heart's content. And then, but you can only do it with one class at a time. I think that's like a good way to do it, where it's, yes, you have to grind a certain amount, but once you have it, you're there. It eliminates a lot of the bullshit RNG. Like, for instance, I re-rolled my I had a decent class today. a decent setup. And then I re-rolled because I was like, all right, I'll try something different. And I just bricked my entire class. So I'm just like screwed for the entire weekend. So it's just the RNG stuff is lame and boring. I don't know where I was going with that.
I like it for a roguelike thing, but I see what you're saying. But on the topic of leveling speed, I see that Scott pulled up his leveling chart here. You want to talk a little bit more about this?
Yeah, I think, I mean, everything that you guys just went through makes sense. And when I say you want to reward effort, investment, skill, and the people that are grinding, I don't just say that because I feel like those people need to be rewarded. I think it's as important because the people that are you want the new players to continue to become the regular players and the regular players to become the grinders. So there's this evolution in the player base that you want to happen. It's like, maybe this is a bad example, but for WoW, for MMOs in general, like once you get somebody in and they get hooked, they're hooked. Like there aren't that many casual WoW players. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but most players that play WoW invest a lot of time. And I know this isn't a one-to-one comparison, but the graduation that we want to see in this game is to turn casuals into regulars, regulars into grinders where we can. So the reason that you want to reward effort and investment and skill is not just so that the top end players are continuing to be able to produce content and be extremely entertained all the time and rewarded for it. It's so that the Timmies at the bottom and the people that are still becoming regulars can graduate to this level and they have something to look up to. So that's why I think that the balance is so delicate and so hard to strike. So I threw out some numbers here. We can debate these till the cows come home, but I'd really prefer to get short takes and just keep moving on because I don't want to get too stuck on this. But I think we've all talked about giving tokens earlier, giving master earlier, like Ken was just throwing out, like level by level, basically, right? Mm-hmm. I think if you do this accelerated leveling, excuse me.
You're talking about 10 tokens at each one of those benchmarks, or you're talking 10 across that threshold?
I think you cap it at 10. So we're going to dive into this here in just a minute, which is retaining class identity.
So why didn't you send me this earlier?
I made a video. I sent you the video.
Oh, you sent the video and it goes over the whole video. Okay, you should have sent me the PowerPoint because it's like really eye grabbing, like slides and stuff. But I will watch the video later.
Yeah, I threw this together like on freaking lunch break. I had notes from days and weeks, and I threw the deck together on lunch break today, and was like, I only have 30 minutes to make a video, so I couldn't curate anything. So it was just a really rough live stream. But I feel like the core tenets here are mostly good. I may be biased because I thought of it, but I think if we can get to a point where everyone at least agrees on these things, right? Regardless of whatever else is in this deck, and there's a lot, these three things, if we can balance number one, we can retain some class identity, and we can prevent the game from being broken, I think you're making 80 to 90% of the player base happy. There's going to be 10% of the people that are pissed no matter what. They're convinced subclassing is the only way to go, or that none of it should exist. I think subclassing is a great idea, but I don't want to abandon multiclassing yet.
I think there's a world where both can exist, and
maybe, yeah, I agree.
To give a little peek behind the hood that's not going to get me in trouble with anybody, multiclassing is an idea that goes deeper than just this little test. It's something that is, I mean, the idea conceptually for Dark and Darker comes from D&D, and multiclassing is a part of D&D, but in D&D, it's more specifically dual classing than multiclassing. And I think,
but which D&D are you talking about, though? That's part of the conversation.
Don't fucking get into that with me.
Well, no,
okay?
it's important because
I'm not that much of an expert on it. Okay, don't test me on this.
Because it's important because ironmace and their crew grew up playing D&D on different editions, and those editions had different rules. Just like Dark and Darker now is not the same Dark and Darker from a year ago.
SDF and Terry grew up playing Ultima Online, which is a whole different discussion.
Right, which means they were probably playing second edition AD&D. No, I'm just saying that around that time frame, that was second edition AD&D, maybe 3.
So
And at
here's
that
my
time,
point.
multi-classing existed fully, but
Here's my
you
point.
need trade-offs.
Exactly. Here's my point: is that in every iteration of D&D, there is always some drawback to multiclassing. You are never going
Yes.
to be perfect at everything. And I think the problem that we have with the current multi-class system is that you are allowed to just be a Swiss Army knife, where your class has
Exactly.
really very, very few or no weaknesses, which is a really polar opposite to what we had before, which is that every class had some distinct weaknesses, and now you can really cover those. I think it's good for classes to have the ability to cover their weaknesses. I don't think it's good for every class to do everything because it homogenizes the game too much. And I think it disproportionately hurts solos, which I've said before, I'm not the biggest fan of solos. I'm just not a big solo gamer. It's just not what I do. But solos are a huge part of this player base, and they will remain to be a big part of the solo player base. And we need to take care of them too. So
I think subclassing is like where they should at least start. Like they just
Yeah.
jumped right into multiclassing, which is crazy. At least with subclassing, you kind of retain some like class identity. Like you will have like these class combinations. You'll have like the cleric wizards. Then they'll have their own name. They'll be called inquisitors or something. Or you'll have the
Mhm.
cleric fighters. They'll be the paladins. Or like there'll still be identity amongst classes once if you just have subclassing. But since you have multiclassing, anybody could be anything, and you just don't know. And there's so much RNG involved with how you get your skills that sometimes I don't know. It's just a frustrating system. My entire experience in multiclassing so far has been, oh, when I get things that I want, this is kind of cool. And then when I like just have a bad RNG day, I'm just screwed for a while. And I'm like, wow, this sucks ass. This character is bricked for the next 7 days. I guess I guess I'll do something else. I don't know. It's just frustrating.
I'm
I like the
going to
idea of
play-
multiclassing. It's just frustrating. Sorry, you guys.
I'm going to play devil's advocate and say on the other side of the spectrum, not having class identity is an incredibly good thing. You said nobody has weaknesses. Everybody has weaknesses, no matter what they build. There are weaknesses that exist within
I'd
this
argue.
game world. It can be argued, but let me continue and just say that it is exciting that everyone has close, mid, or long range pressure. Everyone can have movement abilities, and everybody can have resets. That is really good for the highest skill gameplay that we've ever had.
As long as you rolled them and you get lucky. As long as you rolled them, you know.
Yes, but that is entirely a separate issue that we can all agree on. And Arcane said that we should have class master at 20. I think it should be at 15. At 15, you can already have all 4 of your perks. You have mastered that class. You're heading for master, and at that point you only want to get to 35 to multi-class. So you bring master down to 15, and you can start multi-classing at 20. That already fixes like a bunch of the rates. I do think speed it up. It's not casual friendly. Like we said, we've been grinding a shitload, and if you miss, you're like, cool, like this class is weak. Like today, I just got Chain Lightning. I have like Torture Mastery, Overheal, Phantomize, et cetera, et cetera. It is, if you're not multi-classing, you are way, way less strong. That is an issue, and how we fix that is we speed up the rates. But just to play devil's advocate, I really don't feel like we need class identity.
Does that fix the
everyone has
problem, though?
stuff, and now you just say like, okay, all 3 of them have Hydra, but like all 3 of us have Hydra, or like they all have. There's a bunch of fireballs, there's a bunch of chain lightnings, but like I don't know, like everyone's creeping, everybody's dangerous. I'm just saying, from the devil's advocate side, it is possible that multi-classing is the end game, and that you just become whatever class you so desire, and you can be PvE, you can be PvP.
You're playing devil's advocate, and like I think we do kind of agree. Like I can't reiterate enough that I think multi-classing could be good. I think there's lots of cool things.
Yeah.
I think being able to make cool custom classes, building a class that's like has range and melee, like that's cool. I like that. I just don't like all the other bullshit with the RNG, the grindiness. Like I
Right.
think the grind. You should not just have a more powerful character baseline because you played more. I think that's
I agree.
ridiculous. That's coming from the guy who plays more.
I think
okay,
we all agree with that.
I think that
just have access to the spell. Just once you get to multi-class, you should have access to all the skills and whatever class you choose. Like if I am cleric wizard, I can have access to all the cleric spells, all the wizard spells once I get to the level threshold. And then if I want to reroll my subclass to something else, and my only would be cleric fighter, then I would have to reroll it to that.
I think that works if, and by the way, Odin, I almost used that exact quote earlier. I don't think everyone should be able to do anything and everything at the same time. You can't, that can't be a thing. There have to be
Here's-
trade-offs in the game. And I do think so. Josh, I actually got into what would you call it? A spirited discussion with someone on Reddit the other day.
First mistake.
And I was arguing the
Go
same
ahead.
point. Basically, that
Mhm.
I wasn't saying that you don't need class identity entirely, because I do think it's important in a game that is built around the concept of trios. Even though it's morphed over time, it was built around this idea of a party of adventurers going into a dungeon with iconic class-based abilities that are part of and inspired by a game like Dungeons and Dragons. There does need to be some semblance of identity. I don't, however, think that means that you should get to know, just because you see a cleric, that you automatically know everything that he can do and that you can just W key and do anything you want to him because he's a cleric. I think there's a middle ground, and maybe some of the things on the screen now help for that. Maybe they don't. But
Getting a little personal there, okay.
no, not too much. I could get
Oh,
more.
come on. You get a little in there with the cleric thing. I feel you
yeah.
on that, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself here. So I think what you guys are saying, though, would work if you want to advocate for just like, hey, unlock it. No randomization. You can pick whatever you want. If you're willing to put in the effort, you can pick whatever you want. I think that only works if you start to have native only properties on class abilities. So there are certain
Here-
things that have to be identified either thematically or because there are overpowered synergies that everyone agrees should not be shared. So something
Here's
like
my counterpoint on this all.
go.
Have you guys ever played a private server for any game that you really liked? Be it World of Warcraft, Darkfall.
Warcraft 2, but I don't
Albion.
think that's applicable.
It might be more applicable than you think. If you play a game that has a private server with an RPG, inevitably would always an RPG more specifically. Inevitably, what ends up happening is that the developers or the moderators that run these private servers always end up tweaking something because they're like, "This is my vision for how the game should." Those
sure.
games end up doing those games end up doing well, but what ends up happening is that people get tired of it and they end up going back to a more moderated version of the game.
Yep.
Do I think it's the perfect analogy for multiclassing? No. I do think that multiclassing has a place, and I agree with you guys. And I think that subclassing was a better place to start, and that multiclassing needs way more exploration before we just dump it into the wild. I think, again, this is early access. We paid to play the game early with the understanding that things are going to change. It doesn't necessarily mean that we have to be happy with a dog shit sandwich. I don't think multiclassing is dog shit sandwich. There's a lot of disclaimers in the statement, but my point being that the system isn't perfect. It can definitely have some changes, but I think that when we just like open the floodgates and everybody's allowed to do everything, it feels a little cheapened. And I understand why people are frustrated that classes seem to have lost their meaning a little bit. I think that we could dial it back and try to let classes do a little bit less and like maybe only branch out into a couple things. And if everybody's happy with that, it's like, okay, let's introduce, now you can go into 3 classes instead of 1.
Yep.
Let's
my
keep trying a bit more.
position is that if you start a wizard, there is no one else that should be, no other class that should be a better wizard than you. You're the wizard. No other class should be a better wizard.
Yeah. Well, that's true in D&D too.
So,
if you multiclass, you are choosing to lose proficiency as your mastery and being able to do more than one thing. You're being
Correct.
a jack of all trades, master of none. That is the saying, and that's how it should be.
Right. And it takes a long, long time. So in D&D, where multi-classing used to pay off, and I know I'm old.
Yeah, when
boomer
you get to
style
20 in both classes.
2E,
it's insane.
right, exactly. So when your character is a 15th level
But nobody
wizard,
ever gets there.
yeah, you usually die. You usually wipe before that. But if you do get there, it's super rewarding. And you want that carrot to be there because that creates for really unique and diverse builds and really cool character expression and play expression. It's a good thing when people do that, but it only works if you have the trade-offs.
So I actually said that early on when they were talking about multiclassing, was that I thought that the idea was that they would slowly unlock the layers and peel it back so that by the end of the season, everybody's running around, double jumping, flinging fireballs, 360 windlassing, and throwing fucking double axes at each other. Not just Frenches, because I'm talking pulling the double axe off your back and whipping it at somebody's head across the ruins bridge and just fucking one-shotting them. By the end of the season, because we played for the whole season and shit just gets completely out of control by the end. Not the very first day that they release multiclassing. Obviously, we're not double jumping, throwing double axes, but you get my point. I can see a progression where you're talking about where everybody gets to level 20 in every class and they're insane and everything is just overtuned out of their mind because it's fun to play that at the end of the season. If you're still playing by the end of the season anyway, you're already kind of here for the long run. And I think most casual players won't be submitted to that kind of stuff. But Ken, you've been very quiet, and I've seen you kind of like brewing in your thoughts here. And I want to know what you think about this because you are the cleric and wizard fucking One Piece master of both of those classes. Jay Griffia fans are probably mauling in the chat right now. I think I saw them a little upset about it earlier. Said you were a dollar store Jay Griffia. What's your opinion on that? Josh is going to talk to us about ratting.
What specifically? Like we talked about a bunch here.
Well, let's start with what if you were. Let's assume that multiclassing is here to stay, and we're going to keep going with this.
Yes.
Is there anything on this list that's wrong and or lacking? And if no, what needs to be added to it? If you're making multiclassing, what are the like guiding principles that you need to have that exist outside of these three?
Well, the four, right? But yeah.
Yeah, well, the fourth one is kind of a
This is perfect. This is perfect. Like, these are the actual problems with like the current iteration of the multi-classing system. It just sucks that they had multi-classing on the test server, didn't test it at all, and then just put it on live. Like I get it. Yes, we actually put it on the test server for once. That's a big step for ironmace. Huge step. They fucking uploaded the files to
not
the
the
test
$50 version though. By the way, they need to just give that to everyone. I understand that they thought it was a reward for the players who paid extra, but just give it to everyone, please. It's making a divide that we don't want to hear about it.
They did zero testing with the test server though, so basically we got an uncooked, untested version of multi-classing on the live servers, and we're paying the price. That's really what it is. For the test server, they should just they made it so you had to grind on the test servers first of all, so nobody wanted to do it, me included. I did a little bit. It was fun, but like if we could have just went in the test server, people could just make whatever build they want and just limit test shit and just figure things out and figure out what is broken. And ironmace could see this and fix it before it's on live. Like you would find out what's broken really fast if you just had infinite access to all the abilities on the test server. I would be in there.
So that was the biggest. Would you agree that they need more QA people?
Yeah, there could have made an event. They could have made a multi-class dungeon of tournament on the test server where you have access to all these sweet builds, and then you go.
Would you?
I don't know.
Wait, no, we're missing something key. Sorry, Odin, but we're missing something really key here. It's not just that you get on the test server to try stuff. You actually have to report bugs and give feedback.
Mm-hmm.
I think you need to incentivize people to give them bug reports and feedback. Sorry if I stole your thunder.
No, so what I was going to say is, at my first degree as ironmace employee, would you be willing, and this is just like a broad question, but I'm asking it to you directly and Josh, would you guys be willing if I created a Discord channel that was test server feedback and I was like, here's a bunch of tools to go crazy in the feedback server, please test all this stuff, and I gave you like a criteria of things to test on there. Would you go in there, try all that shit out, invite a couple of your friends to go test everything, and then give feedback based on that? Because I think that's something that the game does need. You're right that it just needs to be tested more before it goes to the live server, but I don't know that there's enough people who are willing to commit the amount of time that it takes to actually go through and dig for that. Even if we had to reach out to community members, we're using Ken as an example.
They're willing. There were 1,000 people on the test server. They're willing. They just need incentive to actually give their feedback in some kind of organized process where it can be captured and logged.
Do you guys think we need a better feedback channel? Because I think we do.
That too, but also
incentivized feedback channel. Yes.
Yeah, incentivization is good, but like the problem with the test server was that it's not that there was a lack of incentive; it's that there was a giant wall on your way, which was 1,000 hours of grinding to test anything.
100%.
Well, testing on the test server was fast, but no, Josh, let's hear from you too.
No, I'm with Ken here. If we had been if they gave us every class level 100, it would have been way easier to testing and to find bugs. But we had to spend 99% of our test server time grinding. That was the major issue. But like Ken said, I agree. We actually got features onto the test server first, and that is a vast step forward. It probably released to live too fast, but like that's a step forward. So give us levels, give us more. Like it should be on there for way longer. It should be like at least 2 weeks. Like give us
Mm.
Druid on test server for like 2 weeks,
I mean,
but give us all level 100s.
you're really excited about multiclassing and you're a big proponent of it, and you still
Mhm.
want that longer test period. You think
Yeah, I mean, what was a week
it was
gonna
5
do?
days? It was 5 days.
I mean, but we had to grind the whole time, and if we, like Ken said, if we missed our rolls,
No
then what?
testing was done. No testing was done.
Yeah, like no,
Under the
not a
radar.
lot of-
Everybody
was
was
more
just
for
kind of
me,
having
like-
fun with it.
it was more, yeah, it was more like, oh, this is gonna be cool when it comes to live, but like I don't
Mm.
want to grind anymore.
Yeah, so I think the main takeaway is that we just need better. We need a better test environment. I think Arcane's right that we need some kind of test incentive. I think that there needs to be a better feedback channel, and we also need to be a little bit more lenient with the testing tools that go into those channels. Is like, and I think that's one of the first things I'll ask about is like, hey, when we do future tests, especially for Druid, let's get a little bit more granular with it, and let's like, give people a reason to actually go out there and hunt for these specific things, and like almost give the players a QA job, where it doesn't feel like a job. You're just getting to test stuff, but also it gives us
Right.
really valuable feedback.
And it's
Yeah.
really easy to give an incentive. If you find a game-breaking exploit and you report it, you get 1 bluestone shard. Like it's already
Yep.
enough. Also, someone in my chat just pointed out.
Even make it a
when you-
redstone shard, because
when you
there's some things you
exit-
can only buy with
Yeah,
redstones.
true, because that's the actual. They said when you exit the game, it just says, "Thank you for playing the test server. Your feedback is valuable. How was your experience? 1 through 5 stars." And there's a comment box,
Mm.
and then that's already a lot because we're paying for that. So most people are probably going to leave some sort of feedback.
Yeah.
Cool.
But
It's all
as
good
far
feedback.
as multiclassing goes, because I love multiclassing and I think it should stay. I don't like subclassing. I think multiclassing is awesome. I think 3 is the most important on here, and 1 and 3. I think you can skip 2. I think 4 is like.
Well,
a
I
guarantee.
think 2 is important. I think 2 actually is important, but I think you could have 2 being retaining some semblance of class identity and still have the full flexibility of the multi-class system. Like you could have both. Like I said, I was talking earlier about just the class specialization. Like I'll say it again. I think if you choose to just be cleric or choose to just be wizard, you should get a 3rd skill slot if you hit your prestige level, or you should get a 5th perk slot, or both. So if you're just a wizard pure, you have a slight advantage in power to people who go multi-classing, which they have power in flexibility, where they have the right tool for the job, but you have the more powerful tools in your singular.
Yeah, it's kind of the
specialized kit.
sorcerer versus the wizard type of discussion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It comes down to what are they doing with sorcerer? But I talked to SDF a little while ago, and I did say that I would love, and he loved World of Warcraft Arena. You might be surprised to hear he was a very big fan of World of Warcraft Arena.
believe
He was a TBC player.
Same.
I also
Probably
said
fun.
the same thing, that like, hey, maybe we should just try, and this is a test server feature. We put it on the test server. Maybe we should try having more than 2 skill slots, and maybe it will make like, let's restrict the multi-classing a little bit, but let's give us more skill slots so that the skills that we choose can be more impactful, but the multi-classing doesn't go completely out of control. I don't
That's
know.
already out of control. There's a 3rd skill slot. Holy fuck! We're already getting deleted with 2 skill slots.
Well, we also said the last time that we talked about that. Well, I don't know if we said this on the last podcast, but I think we've said it multiple times in between. As we said, like, give everybody 50 more health. I think Ken says that all the time. Or just
saying it for over a year at this point.
like increase everybody's health, and let's like increase the TTK. But there's some people that just don't, that are happy with a low TTK, and I feel like no matter what choice you make, you're always going to disappoint somebody, right?
This is what's really hard, is that you have like the absolute divides. Like it is becoming more polarizing because some people want subclassing, some people like multiclassing, some people want low TTK, and others want high TTK. And like same with skill cap. Like the more skills you add, the less I want to play, because then I don't want it to be more like WoW. I like the simplicity factor.
Well,
But
does
I also
3
like the
skills
higher
make it that complex?
Yeah, I mean, we're already
Like
one-shotting,
right now
you
we're at
have
2 skills.
reckless and rage and hide and ambush, and I'm definitely getting one shot by that
So
fucking windlass.
you're thinking at it from a power level perspective, which is like understandable, but
Mhm.
like those are just numbers that could be changed. But we're talking about it from a perspective of just having things to do. Like some classes just have one button. Like
Luckily, yeah.
like barbarian, you have 2 buttons as fighter. Like you're not doing much. Like sure, it's fun to run at people and kill them, but the reality is like you're not really doing anything.
Well, to borrow from Spuddy here, you know, if you're the wizard, you're out here, you're fucking flinging spells, you're left and right, you're ducking, you're dodging, you're fucking out of the way, you're invis, and you're around the corner, and you pulled the mobs, and you slowed this guy, and you chain lightning the other guy, and then the fighter, he just comes at you with a shield and a sword, and he's like, I'm gonna fucking get this guy. I'm gonna fucking get him. He's fucking dead. Look out. You know, I understand, like, obviously this is very hyperbolic view of the actual combat, but there's one thing that we've talked about before, which is that it's really exciting when you see plays like what the hell's it, Nippelon shoot a cleric as he walks around the corner to sank his whole team, and you just canceled his sank, and now you win the fight because of that. But what if that wasn't restricted to an item and it was a class skill? Oh wait, Ranger has knockback arrow. What if Ranger could take knockback arrow and it wasn't just a weird troll build that they actually played? They took it and they specifically used it for certain scenarios where they wanted to interrupt the channeling spell. If we had more interactions like that, I think it would be more exciting. But this is also talking from the trio's perspective. And I just don't play solos enough to know if that positively or negatively impacts the solo gameplay. And I think you're the person that can speak to that best. You are the champion of solos on this podcast.
I mean, like I played the solos on test server, and I felt like for the first time we were at the highest level of skill in TTK. Like everybody was, like I said, everybody was resetting, everybody was self healing, everybody had at least one movement suitability. So like there was way more push and pull. So for me, like at least in solos, and lately the last 4 days we've been playing trios, I don't feel like the class identity matters. You just have to respect each class's potential strength. And like Ken's saying, like the front guy is like 65% PDR MDR, but like so is our front guy. Or
Yeah,
like
they're standing up there for a reason.
yeah, and so like I don't know, you have mirror comps, and like I also have people in chat that are talking about this development of like meta builds. But like there was always meta builds, and now there's just new versions of the same meta builds. Like you're either really strong at melee, you're really strong at mid, or you're like jack of all trades, or you're really fucking strong at long range with like reckless windlass and like action speed and like crossbow master. And so there's really not a meta. Like there's still a lot happening. Plus, like we haven't really seen the evolution of multiclassing. Like I still think, especially with everybody able to take 2 skills, cutthroat goes really hard, and you just don't see it that much. But I don't know, man. Like, I think it's good, and like it's just day 1, and so I think that the time to get to the multiclassing needs to get faster. I think all of us can agree with that. It has to be more casual friendly
100%.
and less punishing.
Yep.
But like, I don't know. Like, I want it to keep going. I think we need to do this for at least like a week or 2, and then the most important one you had was to fix the one-shot builds and the outliers, and like that's all we've been doing for the past year as far as balance goes. Like fix the barbarian because it was way too strong. Like fix the rogue, it was too landminey. And now we'll have to do that again with multiclassing. But if they want multiclassing to stay, then like that's how it's always going to be, right? When Druid comes out, they'll fix it to make sure bear form's not like OP, and et cetera, et cetera.
Here's a point to what we were just talking about with adding more skills. So let's say we fix all that by increasing everybody's health, right? So the fight takes longer. So now the reckless win last shot.
It still doesn't fix it.
Hold on. The reckless win last shot still does a shit ton of damage, but it's no longer he just one shot you, you're dead. Instead, it's a conscious decision that you use it, but it needs to have some kind of drawback. Obviously, if you apply reckless to a windlass, it doesn't really have the drawback because you're losing the PDR negative by the time you take the shot, and you're usually doing it at range. If let's say we go to 3 skills or even 4, if we're just going to be crazy with everything and go completely change the game. But let's say we take an environment, we make everybody have a bunch more health. All of a sudden, skills have much more of an impact in the time frame that you choose to use them, because it's like, okay, I'm going to take reckless and rage because I'm trying to make a decisive strike to end the fight because I know I've already hit this person a couple times, rather than I'm just going to build as much damage as I can and run at this guy and hope I one-shot him with this reckless rage. Do we think that maybe extending the time to kill and making combat have more interactions on average makes the choice of skills more influential, or do we think it devalues the skills?
The former, in my book.
But I think so too.
Is that, we can definitely wax intellectual about it, but the reality is, situation is you've got Terrence on one side and SDF on the other, and SDF wants shorter TTK. And if
I don't think SDF wants one shots, to be honest. I don't think he does.
which is what's on the screen right now. I think if we're not going to get more health, maybe this is a solution that leverages existing code that exists in the game where no one who's at max health can ever be one shot again. There is an incoming damage cap received of 99% of your max health. Max.
I know Ken's on with that.
Sure.
Right? And
Yeah,
so,
I don't think anybody would disagree with that.
I think a max
You
damage
can't get
cap
one
for a
shot.
certain percent of your health is fine. I think that's a
Yeah.
really good thing. And I think
Right.
if anything that helps classes that complain about things like, so I think Wizard's fine. I know some people like to say that Wizard is woefully underpowered and needs buffs, but I think Wizard's perfectly fine. I think that buffs things like Wizard and hurts things like Barbarian.
Wait, what wizard? There's no class identity. There's no wizard.
Okay.
Just people who have spells.
Yeah.
All right, so the spellers
like-
are
The
killing the
spellcasters.
meleeers. No, the spellers are killing the meleeers, and the arrowers are dying, and everybody's happy.
We're back to where we started. It's the triad: melee versus range versus spells.
It's RuneScape all over again. Everyone's happy. Go out to the wilderness and lose your kit. Fuck you.
Are you assuming my class, sir?
All right.
you've misclassed him.
I think we've lost the plot a little bit here, but I like
Yes,
this
alas.
discussion. I
right,
like
next.
the discussion, and to just let's just take a quick recap take on this because we've said so many fucking things. I feel like even if you've been watching and if you've watching intently the whole podcast, you might be a little bit confused about what our stances are. I think we should increase TTK, increase health, restrict the amount that you can multi-class, and then everything's fine. Oh, and speed up multi-classing, and I think everything's fine. And then gear is a separate discussion. Ken?
I think like probably should just uninstall the game and go play Apex or something. That's
Okay,
my
so
thought.
bad.
All right. I think we should increase the time to get multi-classes. We should probably also be able to save loadouts. Like if I roll well and I get something that I really like, I can save that.
Increase the speed to get multi-class, you mean?
Increase the speed, sorry. And then like I don't know, if I get good rolls and I'm like a lightning warlock with sanctuary like I currently am, that's really cool, but I also kind of want to reroll and have like infernal pledge and undead slaying and purify. Maybe instead of having to level 2 characters, I can just save my loadout. Then like once per week you can save all your rolls and then go back to that. That's like way further. But I don't know about increased TTK. Like of the last few days, the fights for me have gone on longer than they ever have. Ever.
I
Like
think
the
you know
front
what?
lines can tank way more hits, and
think
like
you're right.
everyone has like some resets. People are afraid to W key because there's like lightning and fire like going out fucking everywhere. Like the people, at least in my experience so far in trios, the W keyers are getting more punished than ever because they're W keying into an unknown and they're getting hit by a bunch of shit. Also, I've never been one shot since multiclassing has been released. I haven't
Dude,
been
you
one-shot
survived
yet.
a battle axe barbarian in your face with fucking multi-classing.
Yeah, and like I know it exists. I see people complaining about it, but like we always died to things. They're just different things now, and we need more time to figure out what's broken and what isn't. And more importantly than anything, we need insurance and the ability to scab into the game. And then once that happens, remove GBMM because it won't matter if you lose your gear anymore.
Yeah.
And we need full lobbies again.
Insurance does remove the necessity for GMO. Yeah.
Definitely agree with Ken. How the fuck are there 16,000 players on, and I've seen at most 3 players in my lobbies? Where are the players? What's happening?
Yeah,
Speaking-
all of these like issues and like of unbalance and things being crazy and like wild.
It's all secondary to nobody in your lobbies.
All of it could be solved if I could just like
Yeah.
load into a game with players. Like I would just forget about all these other problems.
Yeah,
all
for real.
of my complaints would go away is if I could hit the play button and just encounter some humans. That's all I'm looking for. I'm an easy man to please. Okay.
Yeah.
Just go to
Part of me-
normals. Go
To be
normals.
fair,
I do. I have been.
Normals
Everyone's
are
in
fun.
norms.
But I
That's it, everyone's in norms trying to get to level 20 again.
Yeah, I've been playing like 6 hours of Worms a day, but like sometimes I want to play some HR, you know. I play
That's fair.
lots of
That
Worms.
is fair.
I've been very much championing the other side, but my actual lived experience is much closer to what So Bad say because I've been playing with So Bad for the last couple of days, and when we play, we're having the experience where some lobbies we have nobody. We're getting the Ken Kenobi experience where we're just too good at the game, and Iron Mace said you're not allowed to play with other
It's
people.
not even that. It's that you just like
No,
put on
it's
the gear
just because
that.
we're too good. It's
All
because
right,
we're
sure.
too good. It's because
Well,
we're too good.
Yeah, okay. but it's because you found some items in the game and you wanted to progress, and then you got punished for progressing. That's really what it is. It just sucks that you get punished for progressing.
Damn, I'm so good. Oh fuck. Feels good to say
So
that.
good.
I know what
Holy
it's like
shit.
now. God damn, yeah. But when we did actually have lobbies where, granted, we only had one other team, it was actually really fun to have one other team, knowing that there was one other team and we're like clearing towards each other throughout the map. And then the fights would most of the time extend down to Inferno and go for extended period of times. It was, nobody was willing to commit because you don't know what the other team has. You're worried about what could happen to you. And it, in a weird way, it does feel like they've captured what makes, or they've captured the dungeon crawler experience where you're supposed to play slow and steady and careful because you don't know what could be around the next corner.
Yeah.
You don't know what your opponent's capable of, and you have to gauge each other up instead of just pressing and sort of buff ball, cleric, and there's barb in the front. You guys just fucking run at each other and kill each other. It's, we don't know what the other team could do. Let's see what they're, let's see if they play their cards.
You gotta bait shit out.
Yeah, let's see if they play their hydras and their coils, or if they're all melee, or if they're all ranged, or if they're a little mix of spells and hybrids. And it is exciting in a way.
Yeah, or you're like, wow, I hear a bunch of chain lightnings. I'm gonna peek. I don't know. It looks like a bunch of them have fireballs. We probably should just not push here. Or like when we were playing,
We're down
yesterday,
a slope. Let's not
and we're
fight
like,
right here.
They have 2 warlocks. Wait, I don't know. There's 3 hydras out. Let's just back up for a while. And we're like, okay, now they're finally committing. We're gonna jump all 3 hydras. Like we're pushing with fireballs. I don't know. Like it's interesting now, rather than just like, okay, they have cleric, fighter, bard. They're only capable of this. We can beat them. Like the rock, paper, scissors is gone. Everyone's just fucking scissors. Everyone is scissors. But again, it needs to be way quicker to be able to multi-class, because it, like, if you're not multi-class, you're
Yeah,
paper.
the grind is crazy. It's
the non-multi-classers are the people who had shit RNG are paper. Because I'm out here with fucking fireball, chain lightning, magic missile, hydra, overclock lock with like 180 HP.
Yeah, you're
with
pure
robust.
offense. You die instantly.
I feel like I can kill almost anybody if they're
You
not
kill anybody,
multi-classed.
but you die instantly.
I have 180 health. I don't die.
If you get caught at a place, you definitely die. I think the literal one exception I saw to that was the fucking barbarian who hit the wall because you hit one clutch jump.
But that was on my
and one heal
wizard.
happened.
I was the little paper wizard. I was
Yeah,
level
you were.
25.
You're made of
But that's what I'm saying. Like
sticks and-
before you hit
sticks and bones.
like level 100, you are not very strong yet.
And that's the
Multiclassing
problem,
big
is we need to
strong.
speed
That
it up,
is
I
a
think.
problem.
yeah,
Yes,
the grind is probably the biggest
that's the
issue.
biggest
I think.
problem. Same thing
I
with
think-
gear.
I think if you lower the grind and people have access to all of these crazy classes, you'll get more accurate data. Right now is like the data that ironmace is getting is probably not very accurate to like what is actually good, because people are just playing what they have available to them. They're not playing what's optimal or like what's optimized. They're just playing whatever dumb RNG they rolled on their class, whether it's good or bad.
Okay, I have a crazy idea that I would like to vent here and get thoughts on. What if a massive majority of the player base is loving and enjoying normals, even with multi-classing, and they make HR like a non-gear thing? It's more like normals. You get like Squire gear up to like blue, and like normals is up to white, HR is up to like blue, and then whatever you find in the match, you fight the other teams with.
You're
And it's
literally
now, like,
suggesting
it's more of a BR and less of like this. I don't even know what this is. Like this.
you're
Diablo-style
literally
grind.
suggesting a different version of what I was talking about before, and I made a thread about it and I shared it in the group chat. I don't know if you read it, but Ken did, and he said it was an okay idea.
Yeah, but like, what if they increase like artifact drops when you're in HR, and then they're like, oh shit, they got a full gi, and then you're like battling it out, and then like I don't know. Like I love what we have, but if let's just say 80% of the player base is in norms, and that's why we're not seeing that many people in HR, then it would probably be a better shift for the game, right? To go like norms up to white and then like HR up to blue. And then if you find purples and legos in an artifact and match, like you can use it in match, especially if it's a 3-layer system with like
And
more
then
players.
what is it for after that?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not that far.
That's why
That's
I want to see.
Nothing, dude. It's worth AP. It's worth AP.
Cons-
It's gone, and now you're dropping back in with blues again. Like I really don't know.
All right, good solution.
Yeah.
Conceptually, I would love to see them design gear to be more built around. And I made a concept piece for this. I'm too lazy to pull it up on the stream, but I don't know. Here, you know what? Fuck it, I'll find it. Arcane, we've literally just been talking forever, and we haven't heard from you. So while I go look for this, please share your thoughts on this, because we've just said so much shit and talked over you. Well, no.
No, it's all good. Gear-based matchmaking, I think, has to go away. And where you're about to go, I think what you're going to pull up is to talk about the purpose of gear and what it maybe could be. If we could get rid of gear-based matchmaking and skill-based matchmaking and just have normal and HR, and the distinction being that normals is really the place that you're going to go to learn the game and fight PvE that is of a lesser degree of difficulty and that doesn't have the full end game content, then norms is a great place to go. For
You're fucking up my
everything
screen,
else,
Odin.
everyone is in a single queue. Everyone is in HR. Then you have to deal with the gear issue and the gear disparity that got us to gear-based matchmaking and skill-based matchmaking to begin with. And I think what you're going to show is basically a proof of concept or suggestion around the idea that gear should not necessarily give you higher damage or higher power levels, but it should make things A, more interesting, and B, easier to clear PvE to achieve in-game objectives. But I don't think that means you do away with rarities. I think rarities should stay because you want gear to feel interesting. You want the dopamine hit when people find it. So you still have the tiers they have now, and you still have maybe slightly tweaked power levels that are static, and all the affixes and all the enhancements all resemble to either utility-based things that are really cool, like, hey, these boots allow me to hover, things like that, or kill kobolds, right? I'm guessing
so.
That's
I want to
where
give
you're
a
going.
slight. I want to give a slight correction to that because I don't want gear that's only good against PvE because it's not exciting. It makes PvP
Yes,
too
it
homogeneous.
is. I'll argue against it. It is if you find a legendary piece of gear and it's got +6 strength and it allows you to fly and it makes you faster. That's freaking interesting.
Okay, well, so you're sort of agreeing with what I'm saying, which is that if you make the gear have no effect in PvP, then it's too homogenous, and having no effect in PvP means you can't give things to a player that allows them to have ability in PvP, and making a player fly is giving them something that has access to PvP. So we agree on that aspect.
True, but so all right, let me refine it. It's not purely damage output or power level output, whether it's melee, spell, range, doesn't matter.
It still can be. It still can be. My point is that the gear should, in my opinion, we speak in ultimatums a lot, so let me just preface this by saying this is my opinion. The gear can give you power, and I pulled up my image here. Some people might not be watching my stream, and I don't know if it's visible on the other because I might have fucked up the screen share. But the example I put here is you have Shillelagh, this legendary staff, and then Ironwood grips, and you put them on a barbarian, and they have some what they do is now your barbarian is better at blocking with a staff, and when you block with a staff, you deal some additional nature damage and you heal for nature damage you deal. You have now built your barbarian to be good at using a quarterstaff. You heal when you deal nature damage. You want to do extra nature damage. You now specialize your character in a way. When you find gear that synergizes this way, it's exciting. It gives you a new way to build your character. It increases your damage by a static amount against PvE. It does not affect your damage against other players. It's fixed damage, fixed resist. But the way that your character builds and plays changes. And when other players see he's got Shillelagh, we need to be careful. He's going to do extra magic damage. Our frontliner needs to consider that when he goes up against him. Our play fighter might die to him. This is the kind of stuff I would like to see them try with the gear. Like, think about ways that you can make gear interesting without just making it a stat check. Because every time you turn a knob up and you make the player stronger against the other player by just a number amount, it cheapens the exchange. But when you make the other player stronger because they specialize into a specific build and they are now playing a different way and forcing you into their game, it makes it way more interesting. And even if you lose to that, when you do beat them and you go, oh shit, I got his Shillelagh, now I have this idea for this other build that I've been holding on to, and it might not slot in perfectly, but this is actually really exciting. +5 strength is not fucking exciting, dude. Plus 18% armor pen is not that exciting, but it's good. But deals additional nature damage to beast. That's kind of cool. Blocking gives you nature damage on your next attack. That's actually sick. Damaging enemies highlights them so your team can see them through a wall. That's fucking sick.
Love it.
That's exciting.
We agree.
Sorry,
we agree completely. I don't think
I'm done with my rant.
We're not misaligned at all. I completely agree with everything you just said.
These opinions are not shared by ironmace. These are my opinions and my opinions alone.
Yep.
I'm sorry, guys. I got very passionate about that one.
No, you're good. I rant a lot too, I understand. But your rants are like way more like well thought out and concise. Mine are
I'm
just all
sniffing
over the
I'm
place.
sniffing my own farts a little bit.
But yeah, I think we always come back to the gearing issue. Just gears is too strong. The numbers are just too high.
Yeah,
The-
even if we keep it this way, let's make it a little weaker.
all these problems stem to like 10 hot fixes ago when they straight up just doubled the base stats on gear based on rarity. They just like gear that had 3 big baseline now has like 6, and that was like the beginning of it, and then they've done more things since then. But like there's just been like this crazy power creep, for lack of a better term, on gear, and now we're just like in a situation where it's just very frustrating. High numbers plus multi-classing, plus the marketplace, so everybody can make these
Talk about the stat
crazy
increase. Talk about the stat inflation. You mentioned that earlier, and we talked about that. Changing just increase, just literally put a 0 on every stat.
Yeah, so basically what he's talking about when he says stat inflation is that the ratio of how much your gear affects you to your base stats. So if you had more base stats on your character, like say right now you have 20 base stats, what if you had 50? So then that extra 20 you get from your gear means way less than it did previously. I think that's like a route they could go just by
The example
upping.
I gave was if you have 100 base strength, and they just increase all numbers by that amount. If you had 100 base strength and you get gloves with 8 strength on them, that's an 8% increase. It's still an improvement. You're still stronger, but it's 8% as opposed to 76% when you have 15 base strength. You know what I mean? It's far less impactful, but it still matters. And then I think they have room to add more affixes to gear if they do that. I think it makes gear potential more interesting without making it too powerful. What do you think, Sobek? Because I know you actually like this current gear system.
I mean, I'm down to test new things. These are ideas that can go on test server for 2 weeks, and then you see what that's like. I don't know. Like I'm pro experimentation, but yeah, I like the current gear system a lot. And again, I think when we get insurance and stuff, it won't feel bad to lose gear. It'll be easy to get gear. The reward tokens make it easy to get gear.
Mm.
Once we like one of the main things about gear is that it's constantly evolving like every season, and so it's hard to keep track in a way of the meta and like what to do. But if we just have like 2 seasons of like normalized gear, like if this is it, if this is like where their vision is, where like each new, color tier gives you like +1 of the base stat or 2 or whatever, and then like a little something, then people can get used to it. But like I do like it right now. I like the affixes in the marketplace. It feels faster and easier than ever for me to get geared, excuse me. And now I've started buying like 3 to 5 of each piece when I go to buy something. And now that we have like 6 stash tabs, I can actually do like 2 whole tabs are only magical healing gear for my warlock, and then 2 other tabs are just for my DPS sets where I don't need MH. And so I like that part, but like I'm fine with this as well. I think that they're both good ideas, but I do
I
like
mean,
what
maybe
we
we're
have.
being dramatic. Maybe we're just being dramatic. it might not need to change that much if they just bring the top tiers down a little bit.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think it's as big of a problem in solos because you're not stacking all of these crazy buffs. The more players you have, the worse the problem gets. I think a lot of the problem is like Bard. Doesn't matter how much you nerf Bard, the fact that you're just like giving that many free stats to your team adds up when it's on multiple players. It's just, I don't know, gear plus Bard buffs plus Barbarian with 200 HP it is just a recipe for a disaster. And like I said, that doesn't affect normals at all. I think honestly, I played a little bit of or solos. I played a little bit of solos earlier, and like it felt pretty good actually. Like these are like problems that are just way more prevalent in trios. So maybe there's trio specific solutions they could come up with. I don't know.
So this comes down to another question: is should you reduce the number of buffs that a class can provide, or how many buffs you can have? Should we maybe
WoW had a buff
restrict...
cap? I mean, maybe.
Well, yeah, but WoW had a buff cap in a different way where it didn't really care. It only took like the strongest version of a stat, but it gave you 9 of them. What if you could only have like a movement speed buff, a defense buff, and a health buff?
You categorize them. That's actually a really good idea.
Yeah,
so you can't just go nuts and start stacking them, and then that actually kills multi-classing builds that try to go for cheap one shots because you can't have like a recklessness would just be would override ambush and stuff. You can't just stack them because now they're in the same category and you can only have one of them. Could be a way to deal with it.
Work.
We can cut down on the buff ball that disproportionately affects the way that multiclassing impacts trios without harming the solo experience. And now we're sort of reeling in the overpowered experience, and we can then try to look at gear in the vacuum from that point. Maybe that could work out.
Before we change any of this, we're gonna try to implement the card system, though, right? Where we get like rare drops. From
I want those
monsters, and then
cards, dude.
we
That's
can play
such a great
the
idea.
dungeon delving trading card game in game.
Give me the
and they're on
triple
the
triad, dude. Just
marketplace.
copy triple triad. Just put it in the game. Anybody play Final Fantasy VIII? Everybody knows triple triad, the fucking song. It's amazing. Just put it in the game. Sorry, I just stole your thunder. I was just very excited
you're
about
good,
triple
man.
triad. Okay, well, we've talked about a lot of stuff here, and I think we've covered most of the bases, and we sort of ran Arcane off of his presentation, but I think we should also probably
I'm glad
talk.
you did.
Well,
it would have been boring if we just sat here and went through a PowerPoint. So I'm glad you did.
Well, the problem with Arcane's presentation is that he's like had a presentation and it was just 100% right, and we agreed with everything. So like, you know,
That's also true. I mean, there was no drama there.
We always have some pretty diverse takes, so I like that we take a bunch of different lemons and we literally try to squeeze some lemonade. And even if we only come up with 2 or 3 good ideas over the course of an hour and a half, I think like that shows, you know, like Ken's competitive trios, and then we have like Norm's players, and we have solos. And so if we find a way to make these things work, like we all agree, XP should be faster. Multi-class master needs to be at 15 or 20, not 30. Like that's already enough, right? Like for what we're doing. And so I think that is the key of our podcast. Like we have drama and we have hot takes, but at the end, like we actually create something. Who's writing this stuff down? Like last week we had like 4 good ideas.
dude,
This
we
week
have an
had, like,
ironmace
3.
employee. That's on him now.
Oh,
So,
that's
yeah.
right. That's right. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
on him, bro.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be honest.
Whisper.
I'm gonna have to like go listen to this again tomorrow at some point while I'm
yeah,
working.
That's
we're
on
gonna
the whole-
make
the
sure-
whole not my
minutes
problem.
by
because I wrote some of it down, but if you guys have anything that you remember, feel free to message me, and this goes out to people in the stream too. I will be the person that listens to stuff, and I might disagree with you, and not everything's just because you message me doesn't mean it's going to get passed along, but I care about the feedback, because as you saw when I went on my little rant about why I'd love to have completely different gear system where you just get fucking shillelagh and ironwood grips and go to town with the nature barbarian.
You heard it here, chat. Here, I'm putting Odin's phone number in the chat right
It's a
now. Text him whenever you want. Like,
yes, call me at
right.
555-125 Ken Kenobi.
Yeah, that one.
These are things I just like to conceptualize, and I am in no way ever going to be in a position where I'm just like, I'm right, you're fucking wrong. That's why I spend so much time on the Reddit being berated by people who have no interest in having a constructive conversation with me, just so that I can read a few comments from people who actually care about the game. But yeah, I very much appreciate feedback from the community, and the more people that want to give it in a constructive manner, the better it is. So that's it. That was my
Amen.
That's it.
Well said.
Hey, probe the chat
we
for
miss
some
anything?
questions.
Yeah, let's get some
yeah.
Q&A going.
Let's go. What do you guys got?
No bullshit until we get some, but it's about that time. Chat questions. So on like a lighter note, though, like we've been talking about lots of negatives. Like, what are some like positive moments we've had?
I'm
with
actually having fun
multiclassing?
with the game. Against all discussion that we've been having, I'm having
I
fun
am
with the
jealous.
game. I'm having fun. Maybe it's
Me
because I'm
too.
playing with Sobad and
Sorry.
Katie, and they're just
I
so
fucking
they're just
love
so fun to play with.
multiclassing, dude. I can't
It's
help
so
it.
good.
Everybody that
It's
keeps
so
saying
fun.
take it away or do subclassing, I'm like, shut up. This is the best it's ever been. Like for the PvE builds, the possibilities.
broken,
like
but
I'm
it's
so excited
fun.
to keep leveling. I'm like, give me more tokens. I must
Yeah,
get more
it
spells
does.
and more random things.
It triggers the little fucking rats in
Yeah,
my
like,
brain
I
running in
want to-
circles.
I want Purify and Undead Slaying and Protection from Evil and Infernal Pledge. And the PvE will never hurt me, but I also need a PvP build. Like, I want more tokens.
Speaking of the PvE build, I would love to see, while we're waiting for questions to come in, you mentioned, I don't know if it was you that mentioned it, maybe it was Ken that mentioned it, maybe it was Arcane. I can't remember who said it. Somebody said a really good idea that I really liked, which was that you have a really
I
small
said it.
chance. You have a really okay. So Bad said that you should have a really small chance for like a token or a scroll or like a ticket to drop in a dungeon that gives you
Off
and
the
your
boss.
party access to a PvE only dungeon. And
Yeah,
that gives you
yeah,
your
I see
opportunity to run your PvE only build. It should probably come at a reduced drop rate. Like, you shouldn't be able to get artifacts from a PvE only dungeon. It probably shouldn't even be allowed to drop uniques. But that would actually be really fun. If you got a token, it's like, guys, we got our PvE only a ticket. Let's go take our artifacts in and die. Sorry, I mean, let's go take our PvE builds in and we'll have fun. Just doing some PvE shit. We'll get a little bit of profit from this. There's no stress. There's no pressure. If we fuck up, that's on us.
Think
I
about
think that'd be kind of cool.
how good that is for the casuals as well. The reason why I brought that up is because when I was playing Dungeon Stalkers, which is like a kind of Korean clone of our game, once a day you were allowed to go into the PvEVP dungeon, like let's say Howling Crypts, and you just know for sure you're alone for that one time per day. And we already have the mind wipe, right? It's like you would be able to see the cooldown of you adventuring into the crypts by yourself, like. And they could connect that to the lore, like the wizards found a way to put you in by yourself, once a day adventure, whatever the case is. You go
Increase
in, and
the
now
threat in the dungeon, so
now
you were the only
in
party
with your absolute bis and your fucking PvE giga perks
Bro,
and
we
stuff. And
already have it. Just QHR, man.
I knew that was coming. As soon as I saw Ken open his mouth, I knew what he was about to say. He was like
yeah, just once a day, and then you can also play.
Oh,
like
it's more than once, bro. It's more than once.
Alas,
we could beat this dead horse forever. Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. What do you think? What do you think, Arcane? Do you think that'd be cool? I think it'd be cool.
I think that idea is fantastic. Yeah.
And
like
you could even sell the ticket and make it be worth a lot of money. So players who don't, maybe if you're playing solo in Crypts and you get the ticket to drop and you don't want to go trios or you just don't have a team to go trios, you sell it and you make a bunch of money. Players would be so excited about that.
I think it's a great idea.
It's cool. That's cool.
In the absence of any kind of training grounds, I think that would be great. And I think it's great even if you do have training grounds. I was talking with a buddy of mine who's probably got 50 hours in the game over the last 4 months. So, yeah, I would say he falls into the definition of casual or less. He loves the game, but he just doesn't have a lot of time to play. And he tries to, like, he ties into the Discord. He reads the patch notes. He is really struggling with PvE still. Shocker. After 50 hours of gameplay, he's still struggling with PvE.
Dude, 50 hours is nothing.
Nothing. Ken
Kenobi and Repose died with artifacts after 3,000 hours. I'm sorry, I just keep bringing that point.
It's 2,200 hours, not counting playtest.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't help that, like, guys like him want to come in and play with their buddies that are going to play, not necessarily Sherpa, but we just all want to play together. And when he and I play together with one of my other friends, it's like, okay, what do you guys want to do? Let's go kill Ghost King. Like, I've got a quest to go kill Warlord. Let's go down to hell. Let's go straight to the boss room. You know how to do this boss fight, right? Okay, well, you don't? That's fine. All you do is this. And it's like, for a guy that's only played that much, it's asking a lot. And even though we try to Sherpa him through the whole thing, it's a lot. So if you don't have the training ground, that idea is fantastic. Even with the training ground, that idea is still fantastic because I guarantee he would get on much more frequently if he knew that every day he could have a free run with his best gear and the only thing that was going to take it from him was PvE. So I love that idea. I think it's great.
I think it's cool and it hurts nobody, in my opinion.
Yep.
I think it's fine. I don't hate it.
All right, so what about that Q&A? Anybody got questions in their chats?
I mean, my chat asked if they could leverage the marketplace to assign like a better matchmaking score to gear, since like you guys said,
I guess
it really varies. But yeah, like
that's fucking hard. At least I think. I'm not a programmer.
I feel like one of the main issues is that for us as a player base, it doesn't matter what the bracket is. Like, we're gonna game the fucking system, dude. Like you already have people within 1 day of GBMM being released using calculators to twink to be at max for their bracket.
Literally, it wasn't even a day. It was the second it fucking released.
Yeah, like they'd already data mined the numbers or whatever, and they were like, "Don't bring bandages and potions." And so, I don't know. Like, we can't really have that system, but I don't think we even need GBMM. I know that's like a super hot take, but like once we get insurance, like it feels to me faster than ever to get gear. And like,
I just like, is Gibbous matchmaking actually help you anything?
I just don't want to spawn
isn't that norms,
on,
dude?
I just don't want to spawn on Coliseum 3 inches away from Ken and die before the match even starts. That's the only thing I don't want. If I run into Ken 5 minutes into the match and we have a good fight and we lose, that's fine. I just don't want to spawn 5 feet away from him and die. I really don't care about much else. I think we have a little bit of PTSD from when we had gold gear in ruins where you could be in somebody else's spawn box in 3 seconds and it was just not fun for anybody. But I think that if we squish the stats just a little bit, and then we put gear insurance in for the lower end of gear, I think you're 100% right. We don't need the gear-based matchmaking. It's just
Like,
pointless.
at least right now, compared to last season, the gear disparity is better than ever. Of course, there are artifacts and there are power spikes, but like they don't have plus 12 all anymore. Like I don't know. We talked about this last week, and they actually, or like 2 weeks ago, and they did it right. Like they removed a lot of the plus all, which was our biggest complaints.
Yep.
And now
that
you
was
can only
good
get
move.
what plus 3 max. And so also they could remove some of the plus add and the plus true a little bit. Like it's kind of that part's a little bit out of control still. Like you
Yep.
can get plus 15 to 18, and so especially fast speeds and fast action speed, you're just like spitting fucking damage.
Yep.
But I don't know, like seeing all the crafted gear, it's nowhere near where it used to be. Like it's devalued. I can buy demon clouds for like 60 gold and like brave hunters for like 300. Like a lot of this shit is affordable. Like
Those
And
are gonna
wear
go back
and,
to
and,
the-
and
yeah.
wear them
1K or
into a
less.
lower bracket too, because they're blue, like super
Right.
powerful items, which is
and so
against the
I don't
point,
know,
yeah.
like it is, the gear disparity is better. Let's make it a little bit more better, and then have gear insurance, and then GBMM goes. I don't even know if we need MMR, dude. Like I don't know.
No,
Like,
I
if
agree.
it's
I think
easier
you
than
get
ever
rid
to
of all of
acquire
it.
gear, yeah. And then norms is just your chill place to practice.
so. I think you get rid of GBMM and skill-based matchmaking, right? But I think as a caveat, if you want to do that, you have to make normals have much better loot. I think normals should drop
It's so
good
good
gear.
already.
No, it should drop not trinkets. Not like that stuff should remain low because you don't want to have gold inflation. But you should make it so that you can get decent rarity of gear in normals. If you go kill a boss, if you go hit the pile in normals, if you like open gold chests with lockpicks in normals,
Pile
you should
loot sucks in normals.
yeah, it sucks. You should be able to get blue and purple gear pretty consistently, so you could build up kits to then go into high roller. There should be a streamlined like loop where okay, I got shit on a high roller today. I'm gonna go play some normals with the boys and grind up some gear in a low risk environment where everything's equalized and I don't have to worry about getting stat checked. And then while playing normals, I will build up this gear to then go back into HR and hopefully I have a better experience next time. But if I don't, I could just go back to normals. You can always go back to normals and
I
like
think
have a place to build.
they solved the problem that we had before. The initial problem that Dark and Darker had was Giga Chad Mick Thundercock could go into normals with his Sunday Biss and
Mhm.
steamroll everybody, and they fixed that problem by putting in normals whitecap. And now normals feels fucking incredible, and everybody loves normals. I don't know
Normals is
a single
great.
person. I don't know a single person who's like, man, normals sucks. It's
Normals
just
is
like,
fun. This wouldn't change the fun in normals in any way. The gameplay would be the same, but just what you
Agreed.
would get from the experience would just streamline you progressing into HR. Like right now, it feels
Agreed.
like if you're like I'm gonna say hard stuck. If you're like a hard stuck player, the game does not want you to progress, right? If you,
Right.
for whatever reason, find some good gear and you put it on, you get punished for doing that. It makes you
Right.
want to stay in your bracket and stay in your box and never actually grow as a player, which is
100%.
lame.
Yep. Yeah, and I
I
notice
think
it, man.
I
'cause
think you
I'm
might be
playing it-
right.
Real quick, this won't be a long rant, but
go
I
ahead.
notice it because I'm playing more normals than I am HR, and I have a lot of good gear for HR, but I don't want to use a calculator, and I don't want to have to make my teammates use a calculator because it's an average gear score. And if we put ourselves into the top bracket and we're untested as a team, we've never really worked together, and most importantly, we're not used to playing at that speed. I've noticed because I'm playing normals and I love them, the speed of the game is slower just by default. If you're not playing with high end gear, you have slower spellcasting speed, attack speed, like everything is slower. So you're doing yourself a disservice by locking yourselves into normal. So as much as I love normals, you should not want to stay there. You should want to get to the faster, more fun part of the game,
That's the point.
which should be HR. But Ken is spot on, man. Give us better gear, but not the same caliber of gear that you would find in HR. You still have to motivate players to get there for other reasons. You want people to seek better skill, high-paced, maybe even more, I don't want to open up a debate here, but more content or different content maybe that satisfies different quests. You want multiple incentives to cause people to elevate and get out of normals into HR. And right now we don't have it.
Here's a thought off the top of my head. What if we did something to? I think one of the bigger problems with gear disparity ends up being health differentials, because on top of defenses, you're also stacking a lot of health when you get to higher gear, which creates an effective HP difference of like multitudes. You get teams that could be in very good green and blue kits that actually have really good stats, but because they're the base rolls on the gear defensive wise and the HP that they provide is so far beyond the other teams, the damage differential almost doesn't even matter. It just matters that the other team in purple and legendary abyss has like 4 times as much effective HP. What if greens always rolled with like max rolls? Because you would never wear a green over a blue unless it had a very good roll. What if greens always rolled with max roll, but because they only have one stat, they're still effectively worse? And we do something about the HP differential so that you can stack defense, but you're not double dipping by also stacking health. Do you think that maybe that could help? Like just doing something to make it so that the enemy team doesn't have 5 times your fucking health.
I mean, you change the health curve. You could, I think, increasing the base stats like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, or
definitely fixes
increasing
that
the
problem.
health. Increasing
So,
the
like,
base health, yeah, that too.
Yeah, if everyone just has higher base HP, the 6 that you get off of a chest piece is going to mean less in a percentage wise. So like
I almost
that's
feel like it doesn't matter at that point, right? If we increase the base that you get, like just get rid of it.
Mhm.
Like
well, whatever it may be, you know.
what is like I don't know. HP is one of those stats that I've always been like diametrically opposed to, because it's just like, what does it do except just make you artificially harder? Well, not artificially, but it just makes you harder to kill, but at no opportunity cost.
It gives you more room for error. It's basically a noob. I'm not saying noob trap. It's like I always call health a luxury stat. It's okay, once you've got enough damage and movement speed in your build, you can then build health, and like
Right.
that is to like cushion you making mistakes. It's like,
Right.
oh, I fucked up. I made a mistake. I didn't dodge something. I got hit. Oh, thank God I had health. It's a crush in a sense. I mean, that's all it is.
Everybody's survived, you know,
Yeah,
with 10 health from a fucking Thanos. I mean, it's
dude,
all,
I mean, I'm the 92 HP fucking wizard Giga Chat. Okay, I don't stack health.
but I think you're right that I'm just spitballing ideas here, but I think you're right that normals should have. I actually think that they should flip it. Make the treasures not as good, because you can make 3, 4. I've made 500 gold on a run from normals, which is like
Sure.
as good as a pretty good run in HR where you kill the boss, where you don't get the best luck on pulling from the pile. I feel like that's too much. Like, what the hell are you even doing with that gold if you're playing a lot of normals? What's the point? Instead, I do think actually, yeah, rewarding people with better gear to better equip them for
Plus,
HR is a good
it's just
idea.
fun. It's just fun opening up a chest. Ooh, a purple
Dude, I got a
robe.
purple. Yeah,
Let's
purple
fucking
falchion with
go,
+2
dude!
weapon
Holy shit,
damage,
this thing
dude.
is sick.
I'm gonna fuck this lobby up,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
It's just,
That is exciting. Yeah, I'm
it's a
alright
feel
there
good.
with
It's
you.
a feel good moment. Yeah.
What normals are you guys playing, dude? I feel like normals drops an insane amount of shit considering it's
I'd never
free to
get
go in
good
there.
items in
Items,
normals.
items,
Items
are like,
suck.
Yeah,
but
get-
yeah,
I feel
you
like I
can get
always get a
shinies for
+1
days.
all. I get
You get
+1
shinies
alls.
for
I get a
days.
bunch of necklaces.
Plus one all on a
for
green doesn't
plus one all
feel as good.
no, that's fine. No, plus one all green is powerful, but we're talking about like trying to get players geared enough to go into HR with like.
You just said you pulled 500 gold on a run. Go buy like a.
Yeah,
you can buy a West
they're
deck
not
with that, dude.
They don't. I don't know. I don't like.
There is +3 add damage fox pendants for like 80 gold. Like,
Yeah,
how
you're
much
adding
do
more
I need
steps.
to go to
You know?
HR?
I'm gonna channel Katie here for a second.
All right.
And you're going to hate this, but I think she's right a little bit about the way that the market treats players and the way that it's too influenced by RMT. Even if it's only a small amount, I do think that prices are too. I was looking at earlier, actually, when we were trying to play, I was looking at the cost. What if you played normals for 2 hours and you made like 1,500 gold? You buy one BIS item, BIS, we say that very loosely because a BIS item actually costs like 9K at least for a fucking actual BIS item.
Right.
You buy a really good purple item.
Mhm.
You spend 6 hours farming normals to get one kit that can fight another team that has been farming BIS in HR with their triple squad that's killing boss every run for 10 hours.
Right.
That's why I'm actually okay with what Ken said, is like, let's just give people, like, what is the harm in giving people
just
better
give them
gear
a
for
chance.
normals?
Yeah, just
Like,
I don't see the downside. I don't see the downside.
I'm down to try it.
Yeah.
So bad might be
Mhm.
right that we get enough gold, but I feel like it feels worse to get a lot of gold and then be able to go buy things that other players earned than it does to just earn it yourself.
Or not be able to
guess.
buy the things that you want to buy.
I don't know,
Yes,
like,
100%.
I guess from my POV, like you have to give us like a good reason to farm HR, and like maybe you're saying you get more gear, so more people are in HR, but like all the things that drop in HR for the most part already drop in norms. Like they get a
So
fucking
the
troll pelt to a
reality in
normal
HR,
troll, and they just made like
No.
5K, and like
No.
the
they
biggest loot out of loot
like,
between
cast
HR is
in the
not
gold
Hold
a
on,
boss.
we're all
Sorry.
talking over each other. Let's so
Sorry,
bad
sorry.
finish here.
Sorry,
Say that again, because we
Th-
all just
there
kind of.
is reduced drop rate in normals, but you can also play HR naked. Like once you get good, you can just go there with basically nothing, and you're not really risking anything. And
You
have
are without gear-based matching. You are almost guaranteed to die to another team if you go naked.
you guys
Almost
are talking about
guaranteed.
crypts though. Like I'm talking about there's ice caves and goblin, and like you might not even see other people if you're just farming the edges, and you can do that literally naked. And if you break like 8
Okay,
boxes, you're already in
so-
like blues and greens, and maybe like your first purple.
But that's
So-
not what
so
people
what if we make-
remember.
What if we make the
Sorry.
solo? What if we make goblin caves and ice caves less rewarding? Because I think they should be. And personally, I think that solos should be less rewarding than duos. Should be less rewarding than trios. That's my take.
That's
But
fair.
I see what you're saying.
To just address what Josh was saying, you don't see a lot of people on Reddit complaining that they're getting rolled by PvE. You see people
Right.
complaining because they're getting rolled by BIS squads.
Mm.
They hate it, and that's why we had skill-based and now gear-based matchmaking.
Right.
So, I mean, your point is valid. You can queue high roller once you hit level 20, and I know Ken has some thoughts about that he's already expressed. Once you hit level 20, your character can go to HR naked. But
So I saw somebody in chat.
you're going to
say-
remember it when you get rolled, whether you're naked or not. When you get rolled by players and you do the death cam and you see that they have all legendaries and that the power gap between the two of you was like, okay, even if I fought that perfectly 9 times out of 10 or 99 times out of 100, I lose that fight. That's what people remember, and that's what gets them going on Reddit. It's not because they can't survive PvE on the edges and extract. They could do that.
If you're worried about PvE, you're not even on Reddit posting about any of that shit. You're just like, I'm having
Right.
fun with this game. This is fun. But
Right.
I saw somebody in chat say that if you have teammates, give them less or give them more. If you're alone, give them less. Yes, because if you're alone, you're not sharing loot. It's all yours. Whatever you loot is yours. You're not like, hey, I found these cool gloves for you. You're just like,
Right.
this is all my shit. And if I
This
find
is
something
all
really
for
valuable,
me, dude.
it's
I
all
can't wait
me,
to go to the
dude.
marketplace. I get out of here
And it's-
alive.
And it's also way fucking easier to run away
Yes.
from one player than it is to run away from 3 players.
100%.
Yes, trios should be more rewarding, especially because if you go in as a solo, you stand to profit insanely, especially if you go naked.
That's a
Yes,
great call
trios
out.
should be
100%.
more rewarding than duos, should be more rewarding than solos. And also, solos is insanely fucking rewarding if you boss. And a lot of people boss and never get bothered. And the one time that you die to somebody invading you after you kill boss is canceled out by the 3 times you killed boss and got the pile by yourself and then took a portal because you were in swarm.
Or the
You make
time
so much
invaded
gold.
them.
Right, or the time you
I
invaded them.
love it. I love it. I'm like, you fucker, I killed the boss. Don't invade me. And then the second I hear somebody killing troll, I'm like, I can't wait to kill this player.
That's one thing where I will take a stance where I think, yeah, if you play trios, you should be more rewarded, because if you're playing as a trio, you're not actually really more rewarded unless you win the lobby. And
You
that is
are
a
you
smaller
already get
percentage.
less because the map is more congested and
Contested,
there's
right.
less loot. That's what somebody said. I'm like, but you're playing on a solo map that's a 50-minute map with 3 loot piles. There is not less loot. There's way
Yeah.
more loot on Goblin Caves.
Dude,
I was-
why do you think the solos wanted their fucking 5x5 back
yes,
so
the
bad?
5x5.
I was
release
in
me.
Discord
3x3
watching Narek
suck.
stream on Discord the other day, and he was playing a fully bissed up bard with bringing mystical gem every raid. He would just run to the corner of the map, hit mystical gem, hit that pile 5 times, go to the troll, kill the boss, go to the cave troll, kill the boss, and then get 3 more piles back when the third pile
He's
was
making
still there.
like 40K a fucking
Yes.
run, dude.
He was getting 20 hits on a pile solo every raid, uncontested.
He's an outlier, to be fair.
Yeah, but I'm just saying
Alright.
the loot is there. Is a point I'm trying to make.
I'm
there.
not sure where this conversation's going, but it better not be nerf solos.
No,
Yeah, I
I'm
think
not-
it's-
I'm not-
solos are
nerf
fine.
solos.
No, I know solos are fine. I'm just saying.
Alright.
Somebody
fine.
in
Needed.
chat said that there is no loot on solos. I'm like, you're just delusional. I'm sorry.
Oh, somebody said that? Oh, no, that's delusional.
No, you're
Solos
definitely
is
not playing the same
fucking
game we
biz,
are.
dude.
Yeah, and yes,
Solos
Narc
is
is, not,
this.
Narc is not the average player, but the point being is that the loot is there on the map for you
Yeah.
to get. You just have
Goblin
to
is
get.
free.
All right, so I interrupted you, Nate, because you were talking over Soba when he was talking about his
I don't even
previous-
remember. I don't even remember. It's
You were
okay.
talking about we were talking about normals loot, and he was saying why we shouldn't increase the gear, and you were talking about why we should. And I'm with you on this. I think let's nerf the amount of gold that you make. But also, I think that the only thing that we haven't talked about this far, and I'm sorry if we didn't get to chat questions because we were supposed to do that, but the one thing that I think that we haven't addressed and that Mindwipe has somewhat kind of addressed, but not really, is that there is no effective gold sink in the game aside from changing hands with players. You have nothing that you spend gold on except gambling with the goblin.
Fortune teller.
What?
Fortune teller. To wipe your multi-class 500 gold.
That's what I said. The mind wipe.
Oh, is that what that is? That's what it's
Yeah.
called. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Mind
So
wipe.
that's a first step towards reducing the gold that's in the economy by creating a gold dump.
I will argue though, just say that aren't stashes and a gold coin chest and bags a fucking gold dump? Like all
Not-
of my money
not
is in
for
stashes.
Ken Kenobi, not for Ken Kenobi.
What?
They're
they are?
not for fucking Ken Kenobi. They're not. Yeah, because you have 8 characters with 7 stashes, dude. That's not
That
it's
is
too
a gold
much.
dump,
Yeah.
though.
No. Imagine if I didn't have those stashes, I would have
That's like a
200,000 more gold.
Yeah.
Think about
That
it.
But
is a
it
gold
gets
coin
to a
dump.
silly fucking point where your entire stashes are worth billions of gold, and RMTers are drooling at the fucking mouth watching your stream, hoping you queue up with some of that.
Dude, I wear mid. They don't want to side mid. They want to kill my teammates. My teammates are in the abyss.
But yes, we need insurance, and then we need
Insurance is a good gold dump.
We need our either guild hall or our rentable room in the tavern that we can just be
Yes.
like, I'm gonna make
Player
this
housing,
so good. Player
Guild
housing,
hall,
guild housing,
decorating,
pets, furniture, trading cards, gold dumps.
trading cards,
And
dude.
Druid
trading
tomorrow,
cards.
baby. Druid tomorrow.
Druid this month?
Probably
It's
in
happening.
15 and 15.
We'll see.
It
Druid
is.
will come
It's-
out.
they
and
are-
Druid is coming out.
There is so much hollering about multiclassing. The way to silence that is just to drop Druid.
Somebody in my chat. Here's a good
Here,
suggestion.
Druid.
So somebody in my chat mentioned that there should be an option to, when you get the Squire at a high enough level, you should be able to pay the Squire for like gear presets, and maybe they could only go up to like green. So maybe let's say you could spend 1,000 gold and get a fixed roll for set on your Squire. Maybe that could be how we deal with the gear instead. You get 5+5 fizz power on every piece that rolls fizz power plus damage on everything, and it's like a fixed amount of gold. Yeah, and you can take it into HR with you.
This is a
It's
great idea.
Instead of having to go on the market and sort through stuff from the players and then having to worry about where greens fit into the economy,
Wow.
it's just a thing that you can buy from the Squire.
I don't know. It's probably a good idea, but at the same time, like the more availability you give to players to drop in without actually needing to spend anything, the more likely
They're spending
you are to
money.
have like the once.
No, they're spending money every time they want that kit. It's 1,000 gold or something.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You just spend 1,000, you get a preset green kit that you like set up, and
That
then
you
get to go to HR.
that you curated that you want for your build, and now it enables you
that's
to play
probably a good
HR with
idea.
a full kit.
I mean, even if you guys said if Norms drops more gear, it's really not a bad thing, because if there is gear saturation and like kind of too much gear for sale, it just brings the prices down, right? So like in a way that's actually good, because then things are more affordable and you can just go in more kits. It's like
Yeah,
akin
I just
with
don't see the
insurance.
downside. I think
Yeah, you guys
I
are
think
probably right.
people want to wear gear and like be powerful, and then people also want to fight players who are geared. So like I just don't see the downside to there just being more gear readily available to everybody, whether it be
Yeah.
from normal drops or for, like we said, the Squire purchase tab. That sounds great. I think this is give people access to the tools and let them have fun. You know.
So the overall take from this is, let's recap here, okay? Multiclassing needs more exploration. It's probably too overtuned and might need to be reeled in just a little bit. It needs to be sped up so it's more accessible for casual players. And it doesn't need to be better for high-end players because they're already playing the game enough and they already have an advantage. There needs to be more gold sinks in the game. Gear gap needs to be brought down. And we should maybe take a look at doing something with the normals loot to make it a little bit more satisfying and not like feel like you're playing for 5 hours to stash up a kid that you're just gonna lose.
It's not even satisfying. It's like playing normals is satisfying, like just from a dopamine having fun perspective. But
I'm
like
talking
we-
about for the HR pipeline.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we just want to get people. We want to get them progressing. Like right now,
Mhm.
there's no reason to stop playing normals, or it is you're not getting the right things from normals to properly progress. Like that's like I think the problem. Sorry to like, interrupt you there.
No,
That's
that's
Did I
good.
miss anything?
No, I think those are all really good takes from
Get
like
rid
boiled
of
down from
gear-based
what we talked about.
matchmaking.
Yeah,
That's
get
the
rid of
other
your base
thing.
metric.
Yeah,
I know
via
some
all those
people
other
like it.
things plus insurance.
Yeah, and plus insurance. Yep. More gold sinks for features in game. Get rid of gear-based matchmaking. I love it. Add trading cards as a rare drop. There's no harm in that, and we can have a lot of fun with a little card game in the game. Triple triad, add it. Take it, get rid of the pregame lobby in HR, and give us a little fucking tavern. We can all hang out and play triple triad. Did I miss anything? I think that's everything, right?
I mean, like we didn't really touch on it, but like just like nerf rogue still. I mean, that's always good. It's always safe
Yeah.
bet nerf the rogue.
I'm not even entertaining.
Yeah.
Like, get the fuck out of here.
I mean, remove invisibility.
They're fine where
help
they
the
are.
rogue.
I'm just
We're
fucking
good.
around.
You know,
Delete the class.
nobody has talked about
the
invisibility
rogues-
for the last month. It's been fine. It's incredible, isn't it?
because rogue exists. We just had to have another rollback within the last 24 hours. I
What are you
lost
talking about?
3 different quests that I had progressed. 3 different quests I had completed are now rolled back. Why?
Fucking rogues, dude.
Fucking
And I
rogues,
had
man.
rogues
Round them up.
rogues robbing me in normals for my base kits just to troll me to take away my spellcasting implement because they're trolls. Because it's the nature of that dirty, rotten, awful, terrible class.
It's thieves.
I told
The
Katie
worst.
when she was talking about doing trios earlier, I was like, we can rent out so bad, but he needs to be back by 10 Eastern for the podcast. And if you're late, the fee is that you have to go on Reddit and say that you missed the landmine rogue meta and that actually rogues were pretty balanced back then. Chat was not having that shit. All right. Please, chat, if you have any more questions, let's get them in before we close this up. But we've been going for 2 hours now, so I think it's time to wrap it up.
Yeah, it's about that time.
Everybody's looking at their phones. They want to get back to playing Dark and Darker.
Not me.
I'm definitely
We'll
not
see
looking
Yes,
at my
you do.
phone.
You want to play Dark and Darker so fucking
Dude,
bad.
I need more multi-class tokens.
Dude,
Release me.
I've never looked forward to this podcast more than today because I was able to log off of Dark and Darker. Holy shit.
Hmm.
That was-
Yeah, I was. Katie
Yikes.
was right. This was our most polarizing podcast, but I think at the end we threw the strainer. That was a good sum up, Odin. Good things on the horizon. More to come.
And I'm here, so whenever you have feedback and stuff, make sure you send it over. Me and Soma will be doing our best to engage with the English community to filter things. If you come at us like a dickhead, just expect to not hear any response. But if you have something constructive to say, we are happy to hear you.
and I'm here to be the
Cliffhanger.
doomer who has nothing constructive to say. So
Shut the fuck up, Ken. Get it. Go play
Dude,
your Dark
it's
Ball,
all
dude.
it's all
Yeah.
gonna burn,
Yeah,
bro.
go have fun in Gray Zone Extraction War Zone. Looks real fun.
Actually, like, the game is pretty cool. Actually, but
Later,
It looks
nerd.
all right. It looks all right.
pretty cool. I get it. Try.
All right, thanks, guys. It was a fun one. Catch y'all later.
All right, peace.
Bye.
Next week, we'll talk
All right,
about Ace
guys.
Abyss. See you guys.
Catch us next week for
Dude,
Wheel of
I mean,
Fortune.
1 week from now will be the 25th.
Oh, we never talked about Ice
All right,
Abyss.
Druid
Next
will
week.
be
Hold on,
here.
it's
Ice
too late.
Abyss
5
will be
minutes.
here.
Stop it.
5
Nope.
minutes supplemental.
Nope,
two
it's too
2 second
late.
supplemental. Ice
It's too
Abyss is
late.
sick.
Oh yeah, dragons. Yeah, dragon. Yeah. All right, next week.
Ah!
Look,
did
I
it.
can't
He
wait
left.
to kill Dragon solo. All right, they said it would take 4. They weren't ready for the multi-classic.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
okay,
All
they're
right.
not ready.
Fair
All
enough.
right.
We'll see you.